All right, and we are live. Hello, hello. Can you guys out there all hear us? We've got a lively chat already. People talking about how great the new Black Christmas movie is.
Are you laughing?
No
I don't know.
sarcasm.
I saw it, and I mean, I love the message. I hate men. I hate myself. So, but anyway, all right, they can hear us loud and clear. Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 8, or episode, yes, 8 of season 8 of The Sausage Factory. I'm your moderator, Pizzell, and joining me tonight on this special Friday the 13th show, we've got the return of Monty. What's up, Monty? How you doing, man?
What is up, my good Sausage Factory brothers and audience? Nice to be back in the saddle again.
Well, it's good to have you back, man. You were on a little bit of a hiatus, but glad to have you back, man. Always a pleasure.
I'm happy to be back, fellas.
Right on, right on.
Great. I think I've never met you before. I'm very excited to virtually meet you. So
Yeah, yes, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Briefly, like for 1 second.
Yeah, but we never did like a live thing together. So
No. This is badass, man.
Yeah.
This is what we do at the Sausage Factory. We bring people together. You know what I mean?
You bring sausages together.
We don't divide. We don't divide people here. We bring people together. You know.
Yeah.
Bring them together. Intertwined.
For murder and mayhem.
Exactly. Yes. Also with me tonight is Lorne. Lorne, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I am breathing. How are you?
Doing very, very well. Doing very well.
I feel like there is a bridge happening between you and I. A lot of people in the audience probably are aware that there's been a rift recently about some unfortunate things that you said, or maybe I said, probably you. But I think that all gets repaired by watching a film that's seminal to both you and I today. And I'm glad we can put the bridge over the water, and hopefully, maybe you'll apologize.
Well, here's what I say. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even if they're dog shit. And yours was clearly the latter. So, moving on. Jay the Stingray is with us tonight. What's up, Stingray? How you doing, man?
Hey guys, happy to be here.
Looking
forward to watching this film with all of you guys.
What are we drinking tonight?
I've got some French roast. I've got to go get it though.
Oh man, you're not prepared. You're not.
But
prepared.
other than that, I've got a Coke Zero here.
Okay.
Yeah. Amateur.
Also with me tonight, Eric, who's actually been on a little hiatus. Eric, how are you doing, man?
Hey, you guys, I'm doing great. Broadcasting live from Austin, Texas now.
Oh.
No longer in the Seattle area.
How's Texas?
Dude, it was, so today's what, December 13th? It was like 65 degrees today. It's awesome. This is like, I don't understand why anyone would ever live where it's cold. The previous years of my life were a mistake.
We'll check back with you in July.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I've been here. I know what it's all about. I gotcha.
But good to have you back, Eric. Glad to have you back.
Great to be back.
Also with me tonight is Christian Hanna. What's up, Christian? How are you?
Hey, Piz, how's it going? And this is my first time ever being on here with Peter. And Peter, it is a pleasure. I am like the annoying little brother of this show. But Piz said if I behave myself and I was a good little boy, I could be on the show to meet the great Peter Bracke. So it really is a pleasure. I love your book. And it's great to be here, man.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint you. So we'll see.
No, you're not doing too great, but I'm kidding. It really is a pleasure, man. It really is a pleasure.
Well,
it's great.
Oh, look at him back there. He's got the book. He's got a candle burning in front of the book.
And yeah.
He's gonna light the
Peter,
book on fire.
No. And I was reading the little companion book that you had, and this said, which I love that, man. I take it to work with me sometimes when I'm bored, and I'll read it over and over again, man. It's great stuff, so I love it.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you, man. I'm just glad everyone enjoys it. So it's crazy. I can't believe it's 15 years old next year. Shit.
Gosh, man.
Oh,
Yeah, that's hard to believe. 15 years. It doesn't seem like that long, but it seems like really long time.
Yeah. it's
And
crazy.
I seem to recall you making a comment one time saying that like you had additional content for the book and you were sort of like, well, I'm just gonna wait till I make the next movie
Yeah.
and I'm gonna put it all together. I
Yeah.
don't know how that plan's working out for
Yeah.
you.
Well, you put some stuff in the ebook. If you get that, there's extra interviews. So.
Yeah.
And joining me tonight, our special guest, author of the book Crystal Lake Memories, Mr. Peter Bracke. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, everybody.
Glad to have you here. I mean, you're practically an honorary member of the Sausage Factory. We've done. I was trying to I was trying to figure out which was the first one that we did together. If
I thought it was 3 or 4. But,
I honestly don't remember. But we're all the way up to like I think we're on to Jason Goes to Hell at this point. So
yeah, this is the first time we're doing 1. So
Yes.
we did like. Did we do 2?
So I don't think we did 2. We may have to do 2 next year.
Okay. Well, you keep having me back, so you're a glutton for punishment.
Well, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are the world's foremost authority in Friday the 13th. So, I mean, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I know, I know since we last talked, I mean, you've been working with Scream Factory on several Blu-ray releases, some really excellent Blu-ray releases.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited. They're great. It was really fun to do. So
yeah, and you're currently working on a new book, which we've talked about on the show in the past, but you're very close to getting it in the can, right?
Well, the interview part, yeah.
Okay.
So when you do it's another big book of like 200 interviews, and so just to do the interviews is a little over a year, get it all done. Because when you get that many interviews, like Crystal Lake Memories, like then you have to realize you have to go through 200 interviews of transcript. Like when we did Crystal Lake Memories, I'm not joking, the actual word count of all the interviews was 450,000 words. So that's just to read through quotes and arrange, So but if you think, okay, you one interview a day, the schedule and conduct and all that, you're talking 200 days just for, interviews.
Wow, man.
So finish the interviews probably next month, February, and then all next year is all writing, and then 2021 it'll come out and start promoting it. So if you're a fan of 90s horror, intense, you'll like it. Scream and I Know You Last Summer and all those movies. So
Very cool.
I might be one of the only people who likes the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies.
I do too. I really like
there's something, especially the first one. The first one's really dark, pretty violent, like kind of hardcore. The second one gets to be, I think, more the '90s horror that people didn't like, even though I kind of like it. But yeah, I'm glad to hear you're also a fan. That's
I'm excited because no one's ever really done it before, so that's why I was excited because I love obviously '70s and '80s, but it's fun to go to something where there just isn't that much infant. No one. Same with Crystal Lake Memories at the time. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there. So.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So, with a hardcover book, another big mammoth tome you can kill someone with. So, that's fun.
Well, that's very cool. I know we're all definitely looking forward to that. And like the really good Blu-ray releases, very thorough, very packed Blu-ray releases. I mean, the Urban Legend release was huge.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Valentine was also a great release for that movie. So, yeah, really well done.
Yes, it's funny because it's been different with this new book. There's no real stigma. A lot of people are like, yeah, of course, because it wasn't like Friday the 13th were back in the day. There was that sort of scorn around them, like they were trash. No one's embarrassed to be in the screen. So
yeah. Well, very cool. But yeah, thanks for joining us again. And you're actually a little under the weather, but you're such a trooper. You love the series. You love, So thanks, man.
What's it called? Swizzle. What's that thing where you're supposed to mix NyQuil and something else, and it makes a drug? Isn't there something called like that? I'm out.
Lean. It's
I think you're talking about meth.
codeine, promethazine,
or something.
Jolly Ranchers Sprite.
Yeah, something like that.
Go figure. Jay's the one who knows what that is.
Our resident pharmacist.
Oh, goodness. We have got a super lively chat tonight. Let me give some shout outs here to everybody who's in the chat. Johnny Dean, what's up? Steak Sauce, Devin Dungan, Jeff Overing, Joe Bob Tarhill, DJ Donnelly, Al from Russia, Max Punishment, Anthony Anderson, Adam, the motion picture history horror fan.
Anthony Anderson?
Yes, Anthony Anderson is a huge fan of the Sausage Factory.
Yeah, awesome.
Huge fan of the Sausage Factory. Let's see who else is with us tonight. Movie Man 95, hello. Hope you guys are all doing well. Having a very happy Friday the 13th. Dino Rabbit, hello, Movie Man 95. But yes, we will be watching and discussing
Hey, Cameron's in the chat.
the movie that started it all. Cameron is in the chat. Where is Cameron? Dave Shaw is with us tonight as well. Jerry L. The Obsoletionist. I forgot to send you the link, dude. I'm sorry. I forgot to send you the invite link. Let me think. Have you pissed me off recently?
Tread lightly, guys.
I don't know. I don't think you have. So hold on a minute. Let me get the link.
There's still time.
Sorry about that. I knew I was forgetting something. All right, here we go, bro. There you go. There is the. Nope, that is the wrong link. That is a link you do not want to follow, my friend. Let's see. All right, I'll get you the link right now, man. All right, there we go. But Cameron, hop on if you can. So yes, we are watching Friday the 13th tonight. The movie that started it all. Oh, Stone Gaspin. I forgot Stone too. Jeez. I'm a horrible host. My God.
Piz, what's
Friday the
going on here?
13th. A quiet little independent film. You know, really just more of a cult kind of classic. Didn't go very far.
Yeah. It's sad to disappear the way it did. But,
Heard a bunch of nobodies.
All right. So sorry about that, guys.
One of my favorites.
All right, so we should have a couple more people joining us here shortly. But let me ask you guys here on the panel. We took Thanksgiving off, and we've not had a show in a couple of weeks. So how have you guys been? Have you seen any good movies lately, or anything to that effect? I know Peter saw a really good movie last night.
Yeah, it was something. It was on that screen. I like to say, like, when someone's like, you don't know what to say, you don't want to say anything bad. Like a friend's like, it was an actor on stage, like, you were on that stage. You really acted that part. That movie was a movie. It was a movie. I say that. That's the nice thing I can say.
It's like when
images and sound.
It's like when an actor goes on like the Tonight Show and they know they're promoting a really awful movie and all they can talk about is how much fun they had making it. And it was so much fun. And we played pranks on each other. So, oh, goodness gracious.
I saw A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood just before Thanksgiving. Since I've been off the show for a bit, it goes that far back. But that movie was really great. I'm of the age. I watched Mr. Rogers when I was a kid, and it hit me right there. It was good stuff.
Hit you in the feels, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, the thing that I think that the marketing plays up all the Mr. Rogers stuff. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say, but it's like the movie's almost not even really about him. It's really more about like the journalist and his life, and like Mr. Rogers is really more of like an influence. He's in it a lot. I mean, so he's there. You get your Tom Hanks fix, but I think as I was watching the movie, I was sort of drawn into the fact you're sort of like seeing this guy's life and what he's dealing with, and I think that's the whole point. So that was cool. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but it sort of surprised me. It was definitely good.
I saw Dolomite Is My Name. I enjoyed that a lot. You've seen that?
I've heard good things about that.
That was funny.
That was good.
Eddie was so funny in that.
Yeah.
Anybody else seen anything good?
I finally saw 3 from Hell. I'd kind of been putting that off a little bit. I actually liked it okay for what it was. It had kind of like a low budget feel to it, which I don't know if that helped it or hurt it, but I don't know.
Was the
I didn't
term
hate it. I know a lot.
used at any point?
Was what?
Do what?
Was the term skull fuck used at any point? 'Cause I'm only watching it if I think at least someone's going to say that at least once.
I don't recall that reference coming up, but
then it's not for me.
Yeah, forget it.
It was good, I'd like to see more Sid Haig, but I understand, he had health issues at the time, so I kind of had to rewrite the script to, because of that. So
yeah.
Well, maybe if he made it instead of 31, we could have had more Sid Haig in it.
Mm.
Well, there's Cameron. How's it going, Cameron?
Good. I can only hop on for a few minutes, unfortunately. But Peter, I wanted just to ask you real quick, since you're talking about your awesome new book that we're all going to buy. Since it's about 90s horror films, correct?
Yeah, it's the whole era of 90s, early 2000s. So
beautiful.
I'm calling it the second golden age of the slasher movie.
So here's my question, please. Are you tackling the whole Dimension, Hellraiser, Children of the Corn, and what the hell happened with that series in the 90s?
So it's only slasher movies, so it's like Scream, people with a knife. So Dimension's a big part of it, and they talk about that a little bit, but I won't be specifically covering those movies, unfortunately.
Okay. I want someone to. I want to hear the True Hollywood story.
There's a lot of Weinstein stuff in there, though, so you will get a lot of that.
Lot of spicy Weinstein stuff.
A lot of wholesome stuff about Harvey.
I mean, Bob was not easy to work with by anyone's. I don't know if you guys know. I mean, they fired Wes Craven off of Scream at the beginning. He called him a hack and told him he couldn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that.
I didn't know that.
Back when it was called Scary Movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So because the problem with 90, there's too many movies, so it's guys with a knife kind of movies. You know, Scream, Some Urban Legend, Valentine, H2O, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the Platinum Dudes.
Oh, do you get into like?
Nightmare on Elm Street remake is interesting, so you'll learn about that as well.
But do you get into like I know you did last summer 3, the one that goes straight to video? Like you get
no, I'm sticking with theatrical because honestly, everyone hates them. I always want to do that summer, so. And also,
I was just curious, where do you draw the line?
I'm theatrical, and so it is tough. So it's a little more challenging than Crystal Lake Memories, which had 11 movies, but
that at least had a focus. This is like wide.
So I'm focusing it down to like picks off with Scream and ends with Scream 4, so it's that whole period. And
cool.
Yeah, Chris Stranger Calls will be in there. Prom Night remake, My Bloody Valentine, Friday 13th remake. So I did like 25 interviews for that. So you'll get to have that finally.
You go through the whole like Chainsaw Massacre remake stuff too, really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got to interview Michael Bay and so Jessica Biel is in there.
Yes.
Wow.
I gotta watch it.
It's a book, so you can't watch it. But.
Yeah. We use sort of the auditory version.
I'm glad we're talking about it because you cleared something up because I wasn't sure if you were only focusing on quote unquote like new IP. So I mean, like if you are talking about those things, like would that mean you're talking about Halloween 6 at any point, or
so Scream after Halloween 6? Yeah. So but Halloween 6 was really a catalyst for H2O because H2O was going to be Halloween 7.
Yeah.
It was going to be direct to video, and it was about Michael Myers getting out of prison. And then Jamie, they're like, "Look, let's do H2O." And Jamie, they came back, so it became theatrical. And basically, they're all. Part of the reason Dimension did Scream is because they're like, we can't continue to do Children of the Corn, Hellraiser, and Halloween sequels. We got to do something original.
Right.
So that's kind of how it all started. And someone even said they're like, we don't want another Halloween 6, basically.
Do you discuss the parallels between Dawson's Beach, and I know you did last summer, and Dawson's Creek?
Oh yes, I mean they're kind of the same. Kevin Williamson grew up in a seaside town, a fishing village. His dad was a fisherman, so originally he was going to name Ben Willis after his dad, but they couldn't clear it. But so he was writing Dawson's Creek and doing that exactly the same time he was doing it in the summer. They filmed it in the same locations. So, I mean, it really is an extension of... It's really Dawson's Creek with a fisherman. It really is.
Oh, my God.
In many ways. Like, you could see those characters when they're in the summer in Dawson's Creek. Like, they would definitely, like, know each other, I think.
It's funny how every one of those 4 leads, and I know you did it last summer, became big. Like, every one of them.
Yeah. Well, originally they offered it to Reese Witherspoon, and she said no. But she's like, I like this guy named Ryan Fiddlefeet. You should hire him. And then they ended up getting married. So there you go. Yeah, weird.
And doing Cruel Intentions. Where he divergenizes her.
Yeah. Produced by the same guy. Yeah. So, he's now just Fast and the Furious movies, so there you
go. We've had 2 other people join us. Gibbs, what's up? The Obsoletionist. How you doing, man?
Well, if Christian's a little brother, what does that make me? I got left at home.
You're the crazy uncle. You're the drunk, crazy uncle.
WTF is he doing here, guy?
Well, we're supposed to come in together. Like you,
Yes.
I'm in the back of the truck and you're driving the truck.
I'm underneath the truck. Yeah.
All these new people.
Well,
That's awesome.
Go ahead, sir.
But how you doing, Gibbs? You doing all right?
Oh, it's good to be rapping with a notorious PIZ.
Yeah. You're very well. You're very welcome.
Sorry. Yeah,
Thanks for having me. This is the one horse series that I have a really soft spot. I grew up with this man, and it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be with Mr. Bracke tonight. So it's great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Also, Stone Gassman's with us. Stone, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't see you though.
Oh, you can't see me?
But how are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, I was debating on to join in tonight because I'm just so tired. But I'm gonna just I'm just gonna sit here and watch and chill and listen to you all, and I'll pop in every once in a while. The only movie I've seen recently that I really liked was David Robert Mitchell's Under the Silver Lake, and I'm not gonna give anything away about it. If you guys haven't seen it, but I really liked it. That was his follow-up to It Follows.
Oh, okay.
It's been on my list. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definite recommend from me. Definite recommend.
Cool. Well, let's get our copies of Friday the 13th queued up at the very beginning. 0.00 we'll give you guys at home. If you're planning on watching the film with us, we'll give you a couple of minutes to get your copy queued up. I think we're all pretty much watching the uncut version. I think that's about the most readily available version these days.
Hey, Piz, can I just throw something out before I go?
Sure.
With Friday the 13th, since you guys are watching the unrated version, I just want to take a moment and say thank you to Paramount for finally putting out the unrated version, because you remember about 15-20 years ago having to buy like the bootleg VHSs at conventions just to get the unrated version because they was transferred from some Japanese laser disc. It's nice to have official copies of it.
And on that note, thank you to Warner Brothers for actually keeping a print that was intact, because Paramount certainly didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Warner Brothers stuff.
Well, Cameron,
roll, kid.
it's good to see you. Hope the film's going well, and
yeah, slowly but surely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great, man.
But have fun, guys, and I'll watch it. I'll watch it later.
All right. Have a good one, buddy.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Peace, Cam.
Have a good night.
Little
All
cameo.
right. So have we all? Let's get our copies of Victor Miller's Friday the 13th queued up. And I mean that's what it's going to be called next year when all the smoke is set, when all the smoke settles. Victor Miller's Friday the 13th. All right. So horrid films. What was it? What was that? I'm sorry, Peter.
Oh, I always love all the credits in the other movies based on characters created by Victor Miller. You always see that at the end of all the other movies. So.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
Now it's going to say based on characters owned by Victor Miller.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
No,
Yeah.
you're claiming those right.
I don't know if you have any inside knowledge, Peter, but according to Larry Zerner, it will all be over next year. Early next year.
I hope so. I mean, eventually, it keeps getting. Eventually, it will be solved. So these things take so long. I don't know anything about the legal stuff, but God, it drags on, doesn't it? Like,
It sure does. All right, guys, I'm going to count down from 3, and then we'll get the party started in 3, 2, 1, and go.
I'm so glad you didn't count down from 5.
That just why the extra 2 seconds are unneeded.
Yeah, well, 5's not a lucky number.
Just a waste of time.
Exactly. I agree. 5 is a waste of time.
Oh God, somebody's getting banned.
Should count down from 13.
Yeah.
Well, that.
Yeah, like the trailer. Remember the trailer?
Why
Yes.
I would have counted down from 10, but that's an irrelevant number.
Yeah.
Nobody
By the way-
nobody recognizes 10.
Oh.
I know that we're divided somewhat on what we think of the reboot, but I did like how the marketing for the reboot of Friday the 13th did the same trailer premise, the 13 kills, which I just thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Again, at least that they showed they cared a little bit.
I was disappointed as a kid when I saw Friday the 13th because there's not 13 murders in the movie.
Right.
Peter, do you remember which was the first Friday the 13th movie you saw?
I saw a double feature. So I guys remember the ad. They re-released Friday the 13th along with part 2. It's called The Deadly Combination. I remember seeing the newspapers all excited because I couldn't see the first one when it first came out. So I saw it 1 and 2 back to back in like November of 1981 the first time.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
And halfway through, the heat broke down in the theater in Chicago in November. It's pretty fucking cold. So by the end of the second movie, it was shivering. It was really half from fright, half from the movie. It was pretty awesome. So.
Wow, that's
Had
cool.
nightmares too. Yeah, I thought it was scary. Part 2 was, when you're 10 years old, it's scary. So.
Oh sure, yeah.
Kids with the bag and shit.
Who else here kind of caught up or started watching in the middle and had to work your way back? Who has that story?
Yeah,
Monty.
I did.
I started at number 4.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Started it too.
When you eventually got to part 1, were you disappointed that there was no Jason?
Yes. I was pissed. I knew. I was like, "Who's this old lady?"
Did you guys
My
know
bad.
Jason wasn't in it? You didn't know Jason wasn't in it?
I did.
Well, this was long before the internet and all that jazz. I just assumed it's Friday. I've seen all the other ones up to that point. They all had Jason in them. Why wouldn't the original?
Right.
I guess because part 4 has a montage with Mrs. Voorhees in it. I was wondering if you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, but, I guess not.
Well, technically he is in it, but
Well,
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
I think I was only like 6 when I saw Final Chapter on video, so I was like way too young to have really seen it in theaters.
I feel like that's my story. Like, 'cause I saw Halloween when I was 6, and I don't know. I somehow talked my mom into letting me see the rest of that series. And when I tried to I was like, oh well, I kind of want to watch like Friday the 13th now. That's like another big thing. She was really resistant about that for some reason in her mind. And we talked about kind of the stigma, I think, around Friday the 13th. Like, she was really resistant about that. So it took me a little longer to get that. But I just think it's funny how like a lot of us were kids watching some of these movies. Like, do kids are there like 6-year-olds that like watch The Ring and stuff? I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is it the same world now? Do kids
Eric,
do that?
It's the internet age. We would be lucky if they were just watching The Ring.
Yeah.
They probably watch police shootings on. They probably watch snuff films.
Yeah, exactly.
like
They're
that beheading
watching
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're watching Mexican gang videos. That's what they're watching.
I have walked up those stairs just like Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah, you have.
I
That's
have.
Really cool.
Oof.
It looks the same, right?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Man, I'd love to go visit that so bad.
Come on up. I'll put you up.
Yeah.
That was a badass video.
Lauren lives.
Not all of you at once, though.
Lauren lives nearby.
I'm the little brother. I get to come up first.
What are
You
the
get killed
woods
first.
like? The woods seem just so, and again, maybe it's just movie magic, but the woods just seem so big and so vast. Are they?
They
is
are.
it pretty substantial?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the southern tip of Warren County is extraordinarily rural. So yeah, it's a thick wilderness, but it's it's a northern mid-Atlantic states type of woodiness. So it's plush, but there's a lot of pines. There's a lot of oak and ash trees. It's not like a southern wilderness.
Okay.
Did you all catch how she just like flat out tripped for real?
Yeah.
In that shot, like
she's going for it, man.
Peter, here's my first sort of annoying background question here. I've always read that like there are publicity stills of the girl dead, but
yeah, there's joke
like
photos.
you don't see her die here. Like, was that filmed or was that just like a publicity thing? Or
yeah, they were just goofing around with fake machete. They intentionally didn't want it to be too violent because they wanted it to be more shocking later on. So they thought they made it too gruesome of a thing.
Okay.
They wanted that first moment of the throat slit and the arrow to be really like shocking.
Okay.
That's what Tom Savini said anyway.
No, it works.
Yeah. There was actually original longer prologue written, so I have the original scripts. She was going to get chased around, and they didn't have time to shoot it. So originally, they were going to shoot a longer chase sequence with her, but they didn't shoot it. Unfortunately, Willie Adams passed away in a car accident a few years after Pirating the kid.
And you couldn't track down the woman.
No one knows where she is. No, her name is like, what's her name? It's like Deborah Hayes. There's like 5,000 of them in the world. So they were both like just helping out. Like he was a PA and stuff. So like, we'll put you guys in the scene. They weren't actors. They've never done a single film before or after. So, yeah.
Here, go make out and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
This main street that she walks down here is like exactly the same too.
Yeah.
Like that bank there is exactly the same. The little walk through there is exactly the same.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That house, that house there on the corner is like exact. It's crazy. It's freaky.
Everything's been painted. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Oh.
This mill house that Piz has walked under, as have I, is exactly the same, and it's probably the biggest thing when you visit Blairstown. When you walk that's where the hair on the back of your neck really does stand up.
Yeah.
Because it's so identifiable to us that have watched it a million times.
Yeah.
Although the geography is all over the place. So
Yeah.
she walks down. She actually would walk towards herself if this was reality.
I was saying because now there's like houses behind her. Like this
Yeah.
clearly is a totally.
Yeah.
This is completely. But when she came down the hill in front of the theater, that would lead her the opposite way towards the mill house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she actually ends up walking back towards where she just came from.
Yeah. Now where she's walking now, she's walking back toward the bank and the walk through and all that jazz. Yeah.
Yep.
Whose
And, like-
dog is that?
I love the dog. Just thinking I'm such a dog person. I was like, I love that dog.
I just love that payphone. That's
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
Is it this
love
isolated
this.
like this?
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know.
So again, you're thinking New Jersey, and you have this picture in your head, but Jersey, every region of Jersey is like a different state. That's why New Jersey is the United States, all condensed into the third smallest state in the country.
Really?
This is all very accurate to this day. Well, the people aren't exactly the same because that's changed a bit. But this was probably very accurate to the time.
Yeah. I was very taken aback with New Jersey and how, it's like Lauren said. I mean, it's really. I mean, that area is a really beautiful area.
Oh, frozen in time. Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit, like if what you're saying is true, Lauren, and I'm sure it is, but it reminds me a little bit of like Buffalo. Like I used to go to Buffalo when I was a little kid, and I've been back, and it's pretty much exactly the same. Like the neighborhoods I used to go when I was a little kid, they look exactly the same stores. I mean, a little more worn, but it's that like, so when I see this kind of gives me that vibe to a certain extent.
So if you're from this part of Jersey, there's things here that really resonate. I never realized how much of it resonates with me. For instance, if you look at the store, underneath the counter, there's ShopRite branded paper towels. Well, ShopRite rules New Jersey's groceries store. So I mean, it's just so accurate. And the door on this truck reads Stanhope, New Jersey, which is again, it's not far from me at all. There's a lot of things that are just incredibly right about the feeling of this, but I really got depressed later in the series when they started playing real loose with where Crystal Lake was. And Jason Goes to Hell kind of suggests it's in Virginia, right? I think that's really a shame because this does have a real sense of place. Maybe I'm, of course, a little biased because it's local, but it does feel like a real place. And it's sad that as they got later on, especially the third film feels like California because it is California.
Yeah.
As a kid, I didn't really notice it, but as an adult, it's so obvious. It's like, wow.
Well, that whole East Coast late 70s production, that everything's a little bit darker. The acting's different because they were pulling from soap operas, which were made in New York and off of the stage. So they felt different than Hollywood films. And we lost that at a certain point in the series.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
if you've lived on the East Coast and then you go to the West Coast and then you like watch movies and TV, it's like you just become so aware of how different, like the East Coast, it's all like architecture for things, like even the way people talk. I mean, because it's funny, Lauren, like one of the nice touches they used to have on The Office is the characters would drink Wegmans soda. which I always just liked. I was like, okay, they would do that, and like so it's like one of those little details. But to your point, like in part 3, nothing about it looks like the East Coast at all to me. It definitely has that California vibe.
Dirt road, right?
Yeah.
You know something else I noticed too about these first 2 movies? It's just like they feel so much more authentic, just in terms of like the environment that we're talking about, but also like in the acting. I mean, of course it's acting, and the acting is cheesy, but that is what it is. But it feels like they're really putting 100%. Versus if you watch 3, everybody kind of feels like they're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
At least to me when I watch it.
Larry Zerner is giving you 100%. I don't want to hear about
That's the damn truth right there, baby. That's the truth.
The big
I like you,
difference
Vero. I like you a lot.
Am I the only
the
person
first
that thinks?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, am I the only person that thinks the black guy in part 3 looks just like Dave Chappelle?
Oh, you talking about Nick Savage?
A little more.
Doesn't he look? He looks like Dave Chappelle. That's Dave Chappelle.
looks like Dave Chappelle.
And you've got like the
That was-
4K
that was-
release, so
That was before
Get out
Dave
of here!
Chappelle.
Get out of here, Stingray. Pick
So
it.
the Hope Cemetery
today.
here, it's not as wide open anymore. These trees have grown up. Piz can speak to that, but it is very much the same.
Yeah.
The angle of this shot is really hard to actually figure when you're on location, though, because the road actually is slightly wider than it used to be. So that turn in the road is just not really there anymore.
It's also right across the street from like homes. So whenever people are in town, they're always hanging out in that cemetery taking pictures in front of those people's home. And I actually parked like right in one guy's yard so I could run out and shoot some footage of it. And he came home while I was there and gave me some dirty looks. But, it was Friday the 13th, and I'm sure he's like, damn kids.
Yeah.
Crazy Ralph lives there,
Yeah.
Hey, Piz, how does that go? Like when you're like recording on these locations and like people like get pissed at you, do they like confront you, or do you just
No.
give them a look like, yeah, okay, that's what you're saying? Because I know Piz,
6'6".
yeah, I
Well.
said Piz, you're a very big man, so I wonder if they actually have the balls to step to you.
No. They don't.
I think too, at this point, they just accept it. It's like if you
Yeah.
move there, you just know it's part of it.
And
It's
when
like
I
you buy the house, there's going to be tourists.
and when I went to Texas and I was shooting stuff inside the house, which is an active restaurant, they were so nice to me. I ran around that place like an idiot for an hour just shooting everything, and they were just so cool. They were just like, just whatever you want to do, upstairs, downstairs, in, out, around.
Yeah.
They were so nice.
So here's a weird detail. If you're to the truck just pulling up to the camp, they actually park right in front of a wood splitter that you could just see the hitch and a little bit of the running rail on. And yet Steve Christie's out there chopping wood manually.
That's because he's a real man.
Yes.
Yeah, he's wearing
His-
short
his-
shorts.
His
Well, I remember,
shorts.
He's got a kerchief.
There was a little story I couldn't fit in the book, but Mark Nelson was saying that Kevin Bacon was supposed to be driving the truck, but Kevin Bacon didn't have his driver's license because he's from New York. So they made Mark Nelson do it. Mark Nelson did stick shift, so he fucked up the take like 10 times, and Sean Connery started yelling at him. He's like, just park the goddamn truck here, and he couldn't get it to stop in the right place. So
Wow, dude! Holy crap! This is the only cabin used in the film that's no longer at the camp. It collapsed many years ago, but that is the only cabin that's not still standing today.
So I get a lot of emails still. People are like, did they really sleep? They didn't sleep. I'm like, it's pretty clear, right? I always thought that Steve Christie and Alice had a thing. That's
Yes.
why, that's what this whole thing's about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, she's definitely not a virgin.
No. There's no virgins in this movie.
Yes, there's no virgin dive.
What I like is this debate. Like, it's subtext. It's not like they
Yeah.
go out of their way to have this really clunky dialogue. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
last night was just a one-time thing. It's like, no, they're just playing like this very kind of awkward thing between them. I like that so much better.
And they're doing two things with the dialogue here, which is really cool. Character dynamics are coming out, but they're also really they're getting information out. Alice is an artist, which is important to the perspective on the film. He's a rationalist, and he's kind of in it for the wrong reasons. I mean, yeah, he wants to keep his family's business alive, but he's going to fool around with the staff. There's a lot going on in a very small amount of dialogue, and that comes really from Victor Miller's soap writing. Whereas, you had to get that stuff across, and you couldn't just be screaming it every second because you had 60 minutes a day to fill, or whatever it was. 48 minutes a day worth of dialogue to fill out. So, I mean, it's an underappreciated film from a writing standpoint. And I got to tell you, people talk about bad acting, and later in the series, that's hard to defend. But in the first two films, I really don't see bad acting.
No,
I just don't see it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I've always defended this film. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Peter?
I would say it's very naturalistic, very stage acting, where there's just you kind of just be yourself.
Yeah,
you don't over project or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've always defended this movie because I think it's really well made. I think it's really well written.
Yeah,
I think the characters are pretty fleshed out, and I think the dialogue is good. And I don't think anybody gives this movie credit for those things.
Now, Alice is running down to the lake to ask Bill if he needs paint. In the original VHS and television prints of this, there was this horrific splice in the print that they used, because they used a circulated print as the basis for the video, and I can't watch the movie without being distracted that it's not there, because I saw it so many times with it there. It's right as she approaches the tree on her way back.
Yeah.
Adrian King was selling wine at Texas Frightmare a couple years ago, and it was really cool. It had this Friday the 13th art on it, and me and my wife bought a bottle of it. She was a sweetheart. She was so nice to me.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
$200 a bottle.
She is so nice.
It wasn't that much.
The other thing about this movie, it really does make you feel uneasy as like as the sun starts to go down, and you see like the little scenes of Mrs. Voorhees creeping in and out of those cabins. It just makes you feel uncomfortable.
Just the atmosphere. Like I miss the slightly slower pace of the earlier movies.
It's slow burn.
Yeah. Well, there's some later stuff I'll talk about, but there's some really.
They build
stuff.
a lot of mood.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's creepy. We've seen people die. We clearly know what movie we're watching, but there's something that like slowly we're kind of. I mean, and also too, the comment that people always make about part 4 is it's like we like these characters. When they start dying, it's kind of upsetting. I feel like it's kind of the same thing here. There's no real like asshole character. These are all like a bunch of kids. They seem nice. They're just here to work for the summer.
They're well defined.
Yeah.
Even Ned, even though he's kind of annoying, get the picture that he's insecure. That's why he's doing that.
Right.
So it's not just he's just some jerky kid. It's still some empathy for him.
Right. And by part 3, the Practical Joker, we had to have him have a speech about he just wants to be liked. So here it's done again with some nuance and subtlety, and we lose that as the series goes on. But
it's done, all without dialogue. That moment when Ned looks at Marcy and Jack making out, and he's all sad and walks away.
Yeah,
you realize how hurt. There's no dialogue. It's not like, oh, I want to be loved.
So this film does something that slasher films have to do, and when you think of the time period, it's really amazing. You have to start with a big canvas, and as the film goes on, narrow the canvas. You do it by killing characters, but you also do it by keeping the spaces smaller and smaller. The original Halloween, of course, does it by, in the beginning, we have the girls walking the streets of Haddonfield, and by the end, we're in a closet with Jamie Lee Curtis. This film does it in a different way. It does it with light. The movie starts out really, really bright and vibrant, all these greens, and once night hits, we start getting darker and darker till the point where we have the moonlight and very little illuminated except for our characters. It's really very cool and a very legitimate way to do it. And again, the movie never gets credited by people who just think it's cheap and slapdash.
Absolutely.
Somebody old answer this question for me.
Somebody
fuck
old.
you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Real quick, I'll get this how Monty, you go. Somebody old answer this for me, like seriously. So that's supposed to be Mrs. Voorhees driving the Jeep, and she just gets right in. Like I would never in a million years do that, but back then I'm assuming
You did.
there was it was normal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean, you've never taken an
hitchhiked,
Uber?
and you also, well, also,
No,
I mean,
I live
when
in
was a kid,
Louisiana. There are no Ubers in
Oh,
North
okay.
Louisiana.
Fair enough.
Yeah, when I was a kid, you would take rides from people, and you left your door open. We never locked our door.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, those days are gone, Mr. Brackey.
Yeah.
They
Thanks
are,
to,
dude. Yeah.
you know,
Go ahead, Monty. Go
Ted
ahead, Monty. That's the
Bundy,
second time I
those-
cut you off.
Well, and
No,
Mrs.
no, it's okay, bro. It's a bunch of us on here. I'm sorry.
Well, and Mrs. Voorhees was a nice-looking older lady. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
You know.
that's true. Yeah, it was a woman. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, till those teeth came out.
Yeah, I
You know,
guess
once she
that's
started
true.
grinding those teeth. But I was gonna say, did you guys think that was the biggest issue with the '09 movie? Was the fact the point that Lauren was making about how it just kind of started out big and didn't go small. It just really didn't have any kind of sense of scale to it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't start big and close as the movie went on. It just kind of was just all over the place.
I wish they would
Think
reverse the characters. The characters in the beginning were much more fun than the characters set the movie to me.
Hey, that's it was so interesting you said it. So I did an interview with Marcus Nispel, and he said he called them the A and B team. And he felt like he got them reversed. That the kids from the beginning, opening quote should have been the main ones. And they got it wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
I like Derek though. I thought Derek Mears was bad to the bone, man.
He was a
Oh, he's
great
badass.
Jason. He really was. And I like Jared Padalecki as kind of that brother character, kind of trying to do a version of the Rob character from Part 4.
Yeah.
I like him, but again, the kid group is wrong.
The biggest problem with that movie, honestly, is that the small sequel that opens it in the first 12 minutes is superior to everything that comes later.
Yep.
I think those opening 12 minutes of the remake are as good as Friday the 13th gets. And then the movie never even comes close to being in that class again. I think the other problem is the characters. The only character we really like is Jenna. And after they kill her in the remake, you don't give a crap. All give a crap goes completely away because we don't really care. Whitney is a weird final girl because she's in the beginning of the movie, then we lose her until the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess, just from a construction standpoint.
Right.
I have a question as an old person for you young people. So,
Okay.
watching
I don't
this,
have to answer.
that moment when Annie gets her throat slit, as in 1980, I said 81, but 80. That was like the first time you saw dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like you just had never seen, because like Dawn of the Dead, people forget like that was unrated. Very few people saw it. Like it was because remember back then there was no real video or internet. So like I heard about Dawn of the Dead, but still for 99% of the people, they'd never seen like gory effects like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I was wondering if you guys seeing it, is it just like another murder? Like it wasn't really a big deal, right?
When I first saw it, my jaw was on the floor.
Really?
I'd never seen that before. That kind of effect where like her neck opened up and the blood poured out, and I was really, my jaw was on the floor.
It was exact.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Since I had watched the Halloween movies, I mean, remember, the level of gore in those movies. I mean, there's blood, but you don't really see.
Yeah.
You don't see skin splitting. So definitely that. I remember watching that, feeling like I was watching something that was like a next level. It definitely, and I thought it looked just super real. I mean,
I felt really bad for her too because I liked her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was such a sweet girl.
She was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I should. It's hard to say. I like it, but like I do like the way that people in Friday the 13th movies generally, the early ones, they take a while to die. So like it's not just her getting killed, but you see her face and she's falling. Like she knows she's dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's much more affecting that way.
Peter, Peter, don't you feel like that's another thing about the remake, which is not really a remake, but like Chewie's death is incredibly brutal and slow and nasty, right? And it works. It really is a high point of that movie. But the series has so few of those moments after the first film. Even the second film, people get hit by a weapon and they die.
Yeah. Pretty quickly.
And I really miss the fact that there's some really like awkwardly sadistic backdrop to this movie that just gets lost after this.
I guess it's a weird, for me, the combination, like Tom Savini was saying, and Sean Cunningham, the idea wasn't to really oppress you. It's like a magic trick, like when you go to see a stage show and the magician saws the woman in half,
Right.
So it's dark and kind of disturbing, but it's also there's like an element almost of innocence of like, wow, we're creating like this cool magic show. It's like interesting, like that's why this movie to me isn't depressing like torture porn can be.
Yeah.
Like it's not people being tortured. So it's still dark and scary, but there's also an element of fun. You know what I mean? It's so interesting combination.
Yeah.
There is some release to it.
Yeah.
This is never being my older brother, he was like 15 or something, but I saw these in the 80s, Peter, when I was like 5 or 6. And I do remember like when my brother showed me 5 on video, I was shocked by it. Like that stuff was really shocking. Yeah. Like it freaked me out. Like the scene where Reggie walks into the room and the bodies are strewn across the bed. That really jacked me up when I was like 7.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of impact.
Yeah.
This is the freakiest scene in the movie to me because I have a phobia of snakes, straight up. Peter, how's the law about killing a real snake on a movie? How did that happen?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, even now with PETA, like that's voluntary. Like I don't think snakes are protected. I could be wrong, but now. But I think the story's in the book where the snake trainer was on the side of this thing crying. He did that.
Well, see, they told the guy. They told the guy to bring a snake, but they didn't tell him that they were going to kill it.
Peter, do you believe that story though? Peter, do you believe that story though? I don't. I do not believe that story at all. I've heard it a bunch of times. I think it's them being politically correct towards the environment today. I think everyone involved knew what they were going to do. And
I don't think they were like apologizing. They were saying the snake trainer guy was like who owned the snake was the one.
I don't buy that either. I mean, I don't think that guy was hired and didn't know. It's in the screenplay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
It's so nuts to watch, man. It's just like, wow, I just watched a snake get killed in a movie, legit.
But so you should.
I guess it doesn't bother me because people eat animals. People kill animals all the time. So I'm like, why eat me? I don't know.
And also, it's of course visually, it's preparing us for the Miss Voorhees decapitation. So the snake in the cabin is Miss Voorhees.
Victor Miller said he also wanted to show these kids could be violent themselves and fight back. So you knew that they had enough gumption to do something.
Guys,
except they don't.
We do need to pause here.
Yeah.
Much like Disney Plus, this is an insensitive cultural depiction, and I think we probably should have had a disclaimer at the beginning of our episode. So I do apologize to the Sausage Factory audience. This is not how we want to represent ourselves.
This also does not represent law enforcement very well.
Yeah, no.
Listen,
this might be fairly accurate, actually.
Yeah.
Ron Milkey at the last camp tour that I went to, the guy was a riot. I mean, he was hilarious.
Yeah, really funny.
Yeah. Like him and Harry, like there was like 20 minutes before the sun was set that we could start actually watching the movie, and they basically just let those two get up in front of us and start riffing, and they were freaking hilarious. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah, he's right.
So this is very similar to Last House's cop comedic relief, but here it works better because the movie has a lighter tone and it's not going to go to those really taboo places.
Yeah, it doesn't feel inappropriate here. Like last on the left, you're like, "What the hell? Someone just got raped and murdered in a comedy scene."
It's just too fast. It's too much too fast. Because police motorcycles always have stickers on the front that say police.
And I don't know if you guys know that the voice on the other end when he talks is Sean Cunningham. If you listen to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can totally tell when you hear it when you listen to it.
I can't remember off the top of my. Which one?
The actress with the red on her. What is her name?
Laurie Bartram?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's hot.
She passed away.
Yeah, she's not with us.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Passed away. Yeah. Well, she's very Christian, so she left the business after this. So it was quite an adventure for her. This movie, so she never worked after that. Yeah.
Sorry.
This always scared me as a kid. I didn't expect him to pop out here. Crazy Ralph.
It's a great scare.
Yeah. I love Crazy Ralph.
I love his hands are by his side.
I mean, why is he sitting in the pantry? I couldn't figure that out.
And
he's sitting in the dark and just like waiting for someone to open the door.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, playing this guy so on.
Check out his neck, man. That's like Fire Marshal Bill, man, from the Living.
I never realized that in part 2 he gets killed and he puts him in the pantry. The pantry theme.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just like the tea kettle repetition.
Yeah.
The first time I ever watched this, I was for sure that was the guy killing people.
Yeah.
For sure. I was like, oh, this is him. This is him. I already know it.
Yeah, but the killer's in a Jeep and he's on a bicycle. So clearly, it's Steve Christie.
Well,
Clearly,
he was crazy.
Yeah. Could be like Scream or 2 Killer.
Well, you know, Crazy Ralph did the narration at the beginning of Part 7, right?
That's actually not true.
That's I know.
Really?
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I wish it was.
That's the rumor though. That's what everybody thinks is that it's
yeah.
Crazy Ralph.
I think it's on IMDb. That's why people think that.
Yeah.
When did he pass
The
away?
editing is. Well, so I reached out in 2003, 2004. I talked to one of his family members. He had Alzheimer's. He was still alive, but he was in a home. So I think he passed away like a few years later after that.
Okay.
Which, so he's already pretty old. Even the editing, like they show Crazy Ralph go all the way out of frame, like just such a different sensibility pacing. To this.
right? Because it's big, right? The scenes are letting you get a sense of scale that's big, so that later when it's small,
Yeah.
it feels small.
Yeah.
Again, there's real filmmaking here, and I can't stress enough of as we go on with the series. As much as I love them, this is a real movie.
Was there ever any thought about like later on in the series or at any point like as they were thinking about doing reboots and stuff of like looking more at the Crazy Ralph character? Because I've always thought in my mind like how is it that this guy like why is it he's the one who seems to know something's going on and why does he feel the need to warn people? I know he's kind of a trope, but I just wonder if there was ever any thought of doing anything more with him or seeing like where that started or anything.
They definitely replicate. I mean, part 3 has him. He got cut. In part 3 there was extra scenes with Abel. The guy with the eyeball.
Yeah.
He comes back later. They cut that out, and then part 8, Rob Huddy definitely. He's like the deckhand was supposed to be the Crazy Ralph, and then
That was
in the remake. Yeah, they were talking about they definitely wanted there to be the idea that the community knew about Jason, that they were in on it, and they kind of almost helped them in a way. And that came from the screenwriter, so that's the closest. But
look at that sky.
Part 8 has the great value version of Crazy Ralph in it.
yeah. You're all moved, axe, whatever. Even this, I love the little scene setting with the beaver in the water.
Yeah.
Look at their reflection off the water.
Yeah, it's so nice. Well, it's nice to see a good transfer of it finally after years.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I actually saw this in IMAX. They showed it in LA at the City Walk like 5-6 years ago, an IMAX screen. So it was pretty. It was pretty amazing.
Cool.
To see all that detail. Yeah, here's an example where, like, you get to know Ned. Like, he's. You kind of feel bad for him. Like, there's no dialogue, but you kind of get a sense of his character that he's kind of the one no one wants to date, and he's frustrated and feels inferior to the prettier people.
It's such there's such a sense of economy with everything they did, but they didn't give up on anything. It's like they found ways to do it.
Yeah.
That shot kind of sucks now that we have high def now, because you can actually see. Yeah.
I know.
But then at the time, you did. I mean, if you've never seen it before, you wouldn't even be able to glimpse. You probably wouldn't have time to figure it. Well, you never see her. I mean, you only know who she is. It is kind of a cheat. Like, there's no setup. She just shows up at the end. Like, I'm the killer. But whatever.
It's only a cheat if you're looking at it as a mystery.
Yeah.
But so we're about to get the blood dream speech, which is Marcy's whole thing. But of course, the whole movie has this constant references to dreams because it kind of is the dream remembrance of Alice of all the events. But it's again, you see dialogue is being used in a way that I'm sorry. And I'm not picking on other slasher movies, but we know slasher movies of the period like Don't Go in the Basement or Don't Go in the House, or they're not operating on this level. They're just not. There's a reason this movie created a franchise that endured until a lawsuit. It's not an accident.
Yeah. Well, it's again the idea of theme as subtext of Sean Cunningham said the whole idea of this movie and all these at the time was a group of people go to some isolated place and there's no rhyme or reason. What's scary is they didn't do anything wrong. There's no morality to it. it's like the shark in Jaws. You're just in the wrong place. It's unlucky. Your unlucky day. And she's basically talking about fate. You know, she's basically have a premonition of her own death here with the talk about the blood. And so it's subtle, but it's all in there. It's like you said, it's not an accident. Like they did think about these things, and it doesn't hit you over the head with it. So it's kind of cool that way. And I think that as a kid, that's what's scary when you're like, 16, 17. Like Sean Cunningham was saying, everyone has that story of like someone in your high school who died in an accident or was hit by a car. And we're all scared of that at that age. So it's like a universal primal fear. As I get older now I'm worried about really dying of like cancer or something. But back then, you were afraid of a guy in a mask. So,
Yeah.
And it just started to get dark in the movie, so like the frame is starting to pull in. We're going to get tighter on shots. We're going to get less of these wide shots.
Look at that water.
Yeah, they don't do this anymore. This scene setting, I miss that. That's what I liked about the final chapter. Did that too a little bit. There's just the shots of like the shutters hitting the glass. There's little moments really add to the whole atmosphere.
Yeah,
they don't take the time to let you feel it anymore. Just feel these environment, man.
Yeah. That's another problem with the remake that Marcus Nispel talks about. They made him speed it up. That's why he hates the killer cut on other stuff. And they took a lot of the space out of it and rushed it all. But,
So the other thing I think is kind of remarkable is, yes, I realize that some of the plaid and whatever is not exactly fashionable today, but it really hasn't aged as badly as you'd expect for a movie this old.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'll be a heretic. I actually think this movie holds up better than Halloween. Halloween feels flatter and duller to me now. It really
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say that I think this movie feels far more open and big than Halloween. Halloween feels very compressed.
Yeah,
I think that works in Halloween's favor, but this movie just feels, I don't know, bigger, more open.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue like Dean Cunning's lighting is better. There's some nice Panavision, but I don't know. When I see this with people who haven't seen stuff, they have more fun with this. And Halloween, they tend to be more, I don't know what it is. So it's interesting.
I mean, it's true. There's a very timeless quality. And I think you could even, too, argue that because it's, like, summertime, like, it's not, like, they're not at school, so there's no really even time frame around it. So you could sort of excuse maybe even some of the clothing as, oh, well, this is just their casual off-hours clothes. Like, it really could be almost any time.
Yeah. Well, now, too, the way fashions come back to 70s, it's not quite not quite as bad. I mean, but every movie. I mean, I'm sorry, every movie dates. We're gonna laugh 30 years from now and look back and look at our clothes like, why were you dressed that way? It's just the way it goes. So, like when I watch stuff from the 90s and you see the ER haircut, everyone has like the George Clooney haircut. Like I was watching Star Trek Generation or Star Trek Next Generation, and it was so obvious. Like wow, this is like a total 90s. It's supposed to be 21st century, but
Well, Peter, I know you and Lauren have read the Victor Miller's original screenplay for the film, and I know the ending is a lot different in Miller's screenplay. Are there any other differences along the way that we may have?
No, it's actually pretty close. I mean, the script, little dialogue things change, a few extended lines, but the ending's the biggest thing. The original prologue was a little bit longer. I guess the biggest thing is originally there was 2 cop characters, and they're parallel. Like now it's just what's his name, Ron Carroll, but and it kind of leads up where it's almost not like Dr. Loomis, but a little bit more of that. I don't know if you guys want me to tell you what there's. You guys know it, right? The original. No. Oh, so
go for it.
The 2 cops are coming, and so at the end of the movie, this fight.
Tree ending.
She chops off Mrs. Voorhees' head, and this is before the Jason thing was in it. So the actual ending of the movie is. They come up and Alice is sitting there, and they go up like, "Hey, what's wrong?" She turns around, and she has Mrs. Voorhees' head in her lap, and that's like it's almost like Sleepaway Campish, With
my God.
Yeah, that was. I can send it to you guys. It's like the original kind of treatment, and then they came up with the Jason thing. So definitely that works better. So then they kind of just compress the 2 cops into one, and Steve Christie kind of does more of that stuff now, but because Victor obviously was very influenced by Halloween and the whole idea of the parallel story of the cops, coming to save the day.
Right.
Lauren was telling me that there's an ending where she finds all of the victims hanging from a tree.
Oh yes, that's in all the scripts. It was more of a filming thing. So now I think they just have Steve Christie pop out. I think the original. I think Annie was supposed to be up there too and stuff. But always convenient how the body always falls out just when the person runs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
That happens in Halloween too with the girl in the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's
makes
just
even less sense.
it's just a thing.
Yeah. Smoking pot.
Peter, I forget how much exactly did this movie cost?
It ended up being it was a budget at 700,000. I think they ended up spending like 800.
Oh,
total.
really?
Because they had to reshoot it. Yeah, it's very cheap. So yeah, it wasn't a lot. It was less than $1 million, that's for sure. And then it made in the U.S. about 40 million. So pretty crazy.
And I think I remember you saying on one of the Friday the 13th DVD special editions that this movie it kicked The Shining's
it was like
ass
number
in
two
theaters,
behind
right?
Empire Strikes Back for weeks. It was.
That's
I
amazing.
remember because The Shining, like people forget, that movie was not well received when it came out. It was boring and long. It wasn't scary. I remember going to school, like everyone was talking about Friday. I mean, oh my god, the arrow comes through his throat, and
right.
And also Shining though opened more slowly. It wasn't it's got a wide release right away. Shining was, a few number of theaters and played longer. So Shining was around longer, but this was like number 2 for weeks, and then because it had the word of mouth build, and it went. I mean, because it opened to like 6.7 million, it made 40. So like now, I mean, that's like movies don't make. I mean, the second weekend I think grossed a little bit more than the first weekend. It just kept going and going. So, I mean, all the buzz was it beat Dress to Kill as well. Like this was the movie everyone was talking about. Like this was like because no one expected anything. No one ever heard of it. It was like, oh my god.
And it would have done
huge expectations. So. Yeah.
It would have done more had Paramount invested in new prints. They wore out those prints.
Yeah.
I mean, there was only, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was only like 120 prints of this film in circulation, which wasn't really an unusual thing at the time. But
it had to been more because it played in over 1,000 theaters. It opened wide, so there had to been a lot of prints, right? It played in like 12.
Did it initially open in that many theaters?
Yeah, they opened it wide. That's why it was a big deal because Paramount had never taken this negative pickup, this small little movie, and opened it over 1,000. Opening weekend was over 1,000 screens. That's why it made like 6.7 million opening weekend. Like Shining played in like 8 theaters and then 12. Yeah. Here we go. Although the transfer's a little too bright because you can see the makeup line.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There he goes.
She's got man hands.
So you see how in the night scenes how small this scene outdoors looks compared to earlier.
Yeah.
It's such a cool way to feel claustrophobic even though you're shooting outside.
I love the set too, because this was the one thing built with the like Sean was saying, the layers of like she's there and then eventually she goes back farther into the back and the curtain, like all that's really awesome.
And all this was built. This was not the bathroom
inside,
at the camp. Yeah, all this was built.
Oh, that's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, they created the set because he wanted to have it where she kind of goes into one more layer of like a dark space.
I like that you can actually feel the raindrops here. Like you can literally see how fat the raindrops are.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, man.
And two, I don't know. I just don't know if it's a scary day because like as a kid, like you didn't have cell phones or anything. So like I remember going to camp and like when you went to the bathroom, you were like this, like you were in the middle of nowhere. You could get killed easily. No one would know it. Now it's not scary to go to the bathroom at camp. You got your cell phone and lights everywhere. But scary shit.
That's why they told everybody for years and years and years at this camp, do not tell anybody that this is where they filmed Friday the 13th. Never say anything about that.
Yeah. It sounds like Piz though that they've embraced it like now, right?
Oh, they've embraced it 100% now. Yeah.
Got to make that money.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a weird thing, but do you notice how attractive everyone is, but they look like real people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't look like models. I think that is a huge part of why we connect with this movie as opposed to a lot of the prettier movies that came later. No offense, but the 90s slasher wave.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You can't connect with those characters the way you connect with these characters.
This is pre-silicone implants, too.
Well, let me tell you,
that was all part of Kevin. Yeah.
I connected with Jennifer Love Hewitt instantly. I connected with her.
Well, Kevin Williamson said he's like, I wanted to create characters like that were one step elevated. They talked to like adults, and because you wanted kids to like have a thing to look up to, like one level, like So this is different though. This is about making people as real as possible that just feel kind of average in a good way. They're attractive, but like you said, they feel like real people. So it's totally different. And plus, they were, like you said, theater actors and stage actors. So
I want to get some input from Gibbs. Gibbs, we've not heard much from you tonight. Give us some input, man.
No, I'm just enjoying it, man. This was probably the third Friday the 13th I ever watched, and man, it just brings back a lot of memories. When we every time we had a sleepover or anything like that, somebody would would rent one of the Friday the 13th, and we would just chill out and stay up all night because we were probably too scared to go to bed.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch a Friday the 13th movie and then play Friday the 13th on NES afterwards?
Oh no, that's too intense. Right there. I think your TV would explode.
It's fun to play the game and play all these sets. It's just fun to run around. It's like, oh my god, the bathroom looks just like it. It's really weird.
Well, I
They
love
did such a good job with that game in terms of the maps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They did, man.
They're so
They did.
like they really do feel like fully built out real worlds.
Yeah, I've been in this bathhouse thousands of times.
I've been killed by Piz in this bathroom. He's a mean Jason.
Do you still play on occasion?
Yeah, we have a group. The game is obviously kind of boring because it's there's nothing new, but it's more just a camaraderie and having fun. So we do the same group.
Is when you agree the best camp on the game is Pinehurst because it's from Friday the 13th Part 5 at the beginning.
Not really. I'm not really a big fan of Pinehurst, honestly.
Actually, that map isn't very balanced. It's got some weird structure to it.
It's way too big, I think, too. Yeah.
Christian, that was not a cool thing to do.
Well, Piz kind of pissed me off because he knew I was trying to get on Lauren's skin, and Piz is just like, screw you, Christian.
Well,
I'm not going with you.
I can't even support that. I don't like that map.
You guys ever play Strip Monopoly before?
I'm really wonky on how the rules work. Do specific pieces of clothing have like value? Because it seems like it would have to, right?
Well, we play where every time.
I think they do, Lauren, because if you remember, like before the game ends, but they have to stop. Alice lands on like Boardwalk or something, and he owns it. So the implication being like she's gonna have to like take like everything off or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm fuzzy on the rules too, but it seems to me like the general value of the locations is still in play.
Yeah.
Hotels all over Park Place. Take it off.
So Piz and I were standing right where this diner shot was.
Yeah. Is the diner gone?
No, it's still there.
No, it's there.
Oh, it's still there? Cool.
The sign's not there, but otherwise it's pretty similar.
Am I the only one? I always thought the waitress was flirting with Steve Christie.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
I got that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People don't realize that? Seems kind of obvious.
It's really funny to Steve Christie's like this Dudley guy in the movie. It's just hilarious. Like now they would cast someone like they would never cast a guy like that now.
Yeah, it'd be like George Clooney.
Yeah, it would be.
If only
Jared Padalecki.
If only Christie had gone home with her and given her the night of her life, he'd still be alive.
Well, yeah. I was going to ask.
Yeah,
do you think he would pork her, Peter? I think he'd pork her.
I think he probably would. Yeah.
Hey, look, if you have enough drinks, man, it's like, hey, grandma's need love too.
Look at that mustache, man. This guy has been around.
The bigger the cushion, the deeper the pushing. Right?
There you go.
He's all for it.
I'm always depressed that the camera doesn't pan just a little bit further so we can see the dining room.
Yeah.
If you
Now, is this the same diner from Jason Goes to Hell?
No.
That family in the county lives?
No.
Okay.
No 2-for-1 burger sales.
Yeah, 2-for-1 Voorhees burgers.
Yeah.
Well,
that pissed me off when I first saw that movie. I was like, what the hell? What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, the 2-for-1 or like, man, that's such a good thing.
He's like, I ain't never seen no 2-for-1 burger sale. This is bullshit.
No, I was just like, why are they making hockey masks? Like,
Well, to watch the new documentary and they'll answer the question.
Is 21
Tomahawk
Jump
Roast.
Street in there? Is Stephen Williams in that, Peter? In the
Yes.
documentary?
Mhm.
He is.
Yeah, he'll be in
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Peter is actually
Yeah.
producing that documentary.
Yeah, so
One of
Doing
the
all the
producers.
I'm doing all the video interviews for that, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun. We start shooting next month. So.
Oh,
It hit its goal
That's
of
gonna be cool, man.
Yeah, it hit its goal not long ago, like $50,000.
Yeah,
Man.
I've never been a part of one of the like, an Indiegogo things, so I was amazed. It was so much work for them to do to raise that money. So it should be fun.
I mean, you guys have heard me say numerous times that Stephen Williams is probably the only reason I watch Jason Goes to Hell. Like, that character and him, like, he's the only interesting character in that whole movie to me.
I agree with that.
Oh, those lines. You ain't got the taste of the
Yeah,
dip.
but yeah,
Come
the
on.
donut.
Come on, that brother is bad with a cowboy hat. He got a cowboy hat.
I love this when you see the hand pull the curtain back.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff you just don't. I don't know. They don't do enough of that today. And maybe too, because Jason's like a zombie monster now. That like it's different. Like Jason, doesn't really do that the way Mrs. Voorhees does. So there's a certain. Yeah, I guess he did in part 2 a little bit.
Well, this is why as much as I like all the movies for various reasons, I definitely prefer the movies where Jason is quote unquote alive, because like he had a fear of being hurt. Like in part 2, I mean, he's like Paul's like just like kind of wrestling with the guy, and even in part 3, when Dana Kimmel like stabs him, he screams and he jerks his hand back. Like in part 7, though, it's like she's friggin' dropping roofs on him, and it's cool for a whole other level. But to your point, it's like the stalking, creeping around. It's like he doesn't even really need to do it.
Yeah, that's why the remake. I talked about that with Marcus and stuff. They were talking about like Jason had to be an icon. Like, even at the bag, I got the way the bag looked in the remake, but like he was already this big. I mean, he's building tunnels. He's already like a superstar. Like the early Fridays, like part 2, he's like scared, like you said. Like he's almost like a frightened little boy still mentally. So
yeah.
Kind of cool.
So Zombie Jason, was that part 6 when that started?
Yeah.
Yes. Jason lives.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know that Piz's favorite Jason is Roy, right?
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Absolutely.
Like, how pissed off were you when you saw that for the first time, Peter?
I was. It was like the height of my Friday the 13th fandom. I was 14 when that movie came out. Obsessed. I wanted so hard to like it. I remember seeing it twice in the theater. Like, I kind of couldn't accept that I didn't really like it. Like, I was like, okay, no, it's really good. No, it is. Like, and so yeah. My biggest problem with that movie is too many people die. Like, there's just not enough of like. I'd rather have less people and get to know them more.
Yeah.
When you're killing 22 people and like it's just like I don't really care, about
It does, Peter,
Like,
doesn't it
just-
kind of seem like someone's like lived down impression of the Friday the 13th series?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a non-fan said, this is what Friday is, so I'll make that movie, rather than what it really is.
Yeah. Like I love this. Like no one ever talks about this scene, but when you hear Mrs. Voorhees' voice and she calls her out, I just think this is super creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's like alone at a camp and no cell phone. Like you hear this voice, like you kind of have to go out because the person's calling for help. It's like kind of scary. They recreated this in the remake. That's the whole thing with remember he calls remember the guy, he's outside and he lures him out and like he puts the axe in his back and he's screaming for help.
Oh
and
yeah.
Jason's trying, like it's a take on this where Jason's luring them out of something like she was doing. So they were all back. Yeah.
Peter, which one is your favorite out of all of them? Is it this one?
The first 4 is like the key. Those were like my primary ones. 3 is probably my favorite experience because I saw it in 3D when it came out opening weekend.
Nice.
And Peter, let me ask you this. Was it like the 3D where you got like those IMAX style glasses, or was it like the Blu-ray deal with the blue and green?
No, it wasn't blue and green, but back then they didn't have plastic. They were paper and it had a Jason on the side. It said Friday the 13th on one side. The other side was like Jason holding a machete, and that was your glasses. And you got to take them home. You didn't have to give them back.
Yeah,
So
it was
man.
polarized
it was
over-under.
It was polarized, yeah.
Polarized over-under.
Yeah, it was cool.
What was revolutionary about that is that there was a box that they could actually put in front of any projector. They didn't have to get specialized equipment. Paramount could just send out the box with the film print. And that blew minds for the industry.
Yeah. was a huge deal. Yeah. But yeah, that was really cool. That was the first time with the hockey mask, and but 2 was really scary. I remember that one, and 4 was exciting because we really thought it was the final chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Little
goat
did
to
we
me.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep
Peter,
flip flopping.
yeah. Peter, I forget. Forgive me, I forget because I probably should know this, but Sean and Victor, did they ever do anything together again after this on a project?
They did A Stranger Is Watching. That came out. So that was like Sean's. This came out, and he got, the industry was like, oh, he's the hot new guy. And he did a movie. It was based on a novel. It's called A Stranger Is Watching. It's like a more upscale thriller. It was Victor Miller wrote it. Same DP. It didn't do very well, and then they were going to do Spring Break together. And then the last minute, Sean basically fired him over the phone. That's what caused the falling out, or the first falling out.
But those guys, they were thick as thieves back then, right? Like they were best friends.
Yeah.
It's a shame, Peter. I swear to God, man, it's a shame.
There's so much backstory there. I don't know. I can't say. Well, I don't know. I mean, it was sad because when we had the book party in 2005, Victor drove up for it. And that was the first time him and Sean had seen each other in years. After there was a first lawsuit. If you guys know that Victor sued the first time to get profits and got them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like been going on. And we were all excited because I have footage of it. There's footage of it online. Like they're together and talking, and we're like, maybe they'll become friends again. But I don't know what happened. But in the years since, obviously it deteriorated again. But it was a shame because for that one night at least, they were, on good terms. So.
I think this will probably be the last night that Lauren and I are on good terms. I'll just throw that out there.
Just have him killed.
Whoa!
He wouldn't be the first.
No, there's gonna be like I feel like I'm watching like a Scream movie and someone's gonna come behind him with like a mask and a knife. Sorry, I didn't mean seriously.
One thing I also miss about kind of these earlier Fridays is like when they redo slasher, when they try to redo slasher movies now, is like just the down and dirtiness of like the kind of method acting behind when they do like fights and chases. Because like when you watch the girls fight in the end of this one, and when you watch Jason chase Trish in 4, they really look like they're going at it for real.
Oh yeah.
Like it looks like people really got hurt physically.
Adrienne King really did get hurt. Betsy Palmer
did she really?
Betsy Palmer was kicking her ass.
Betsy Palmer beat the hell out of her.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
She's working hard for that leg.
They always slapped her.
That is very much again New York, the East Coast thing is that if you're from the stage, you make contact. When the series goes out west, it becomes film, and we do it in the cut. So yeah, these films feel more violent because they are more violent.
And I saw Tom Berenger and William Dafoe do that on Platoon. Like when they're in that village slaughter scene, they were like really hitting each other for real. And that.
And this I love when they find the axe in the bed. It's still so creepy.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah. What about Harry Crosby? Has he ever been? Did you approach him to be in the book or?
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know why. They try to get him for conventions and just doesn't. I don't think he's embarrassed. I don't know what it is. But I would say he's a really nice guy and everything. So, yeah, I would love to talk to him. He's still around. He's a banker now. He's a big investment guy.
Oh wow.
So,
For him.
yeah. What is going on? Adrienne King said she did that line like 20 times till they got it right. She'd like say it. So Sean was happy.
And then she went back to her nice hotel room while the rest of the
Motel 6 down the road. Yeah.
I always do think
that had to be.
Sorry, go ahead.
That had to be in Belvedere. So that had to be in Belvedere from my thinking, and that was not like right down the road, really.
Yeah.
Belvedere's lovely.
It is. It is. There's nothing there though.
Because Tasso and Tom Savini stayed in the cabins because they had their effects studio and stuff. Like they made a makeshift studio, so they said that's why it'd be fun to have a commentary with them because they literally stayed at the camp.
I'm gonna do a quick giveaway here. For everybody watching, if you can tell me what the make and model car was that Betsy Palmer basically did this film for.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I will send you like a free shirt or something. So the first person to post that in the chat will win a free shirt.
No Google.
It's awesome.
So guys, what was Siskel and Ebert's beef with this film? What was the exact reason for why they hated
They loved this movie. They loved it.
Top 10 of the year. Which, by the way, only made me want to see it more as a kid when they hated something.
When they trashed it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think it was really, wasn't it more mostly like about the violence and about kind of like consequenceless sex or something like that? It was this very sort of
As a kid,
Puritan.
a big thing, yeah, people that were worried, partly was that, and then partly also like, oh, if you see this, you're going to really, like, they were disturbed by it because you watch the movies and people were like cheering on the killers. And they thought we're all going to become axe murderers, I guess. And they put it with pornography. It's just, showing people dying and suffering. And
Biz, was it a Tesla?
It's the weirdest.
They're saying Tesla in the
Very close. Very close.
It's the weirdest
Jay's
thing.
drinking
That, like,
over there.
professional critics become like stop criticizing the film and start becoming moral crusaders when they come to the slasher film.
Yeah.
They don't look into the films and see the relative value. You could look at it like a musical and make criticisms about what is extravagant and unnecessary, a deviation from the plot. You could make the same arguments, but because the violence or gore is involved, they suddenly become moral crusaders. And look at what Roger Ebert wrote in his life from a creative standpoint, and he should have known better. Siskel was a little bit more open to the genre usually than Ebert, which is not how we remember it, but go back and look at the reviews.
Yeah.
Ebert hated The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. He called it one of the worst films of the year. Whereas Siskel actually gave it thumbs up. Well, he said yes, which is, we remember as thumbs up.
Yeah.
But it's just bizarre to me that critics have never really embraced the aesthetic of the slasher for what it is, and they can't get over it.
Yeah. I think they took it too seriously. I mean, I understand, like, now if I saw a 10-year-old watching, I guess you're like, oh my God, you get a little worried. But as a 10-year-old, like, well, of course I don't really want to see people die. Like, I'm not enjoying suffering. It's more of it just didn't connect for so. I remember my grandma, she was nervous. She'd hide my fingers. She was not worried that it was devil stuff. I couldn't tell. I'm like, watching The Exorcist is not going to make me possessed, but you can't really explain that.
Right.
So let's see what people are saying out in the chat here. Was it a Cadillac, Peter?
Nope.
Was it an Oldsmobile?
No.
Was it
There's a certain amount that it cost.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Was it a Lamborghini?
No.
Was it a
very cheap Lamborghini?
Was it a VW Scirocco?
Yeah, it was a Scirocco. Whew.
There you go, Steak Sauce. Congratulations, you have won the shirt, my friend.
Yay!
$10,000. That's exactly her Yeah.
So send me a message on somewhere on social media, and we'll hook you up.
I had a friend in high school who drove a Volkswagen Scirocco, and we used to rag on him so bad for that car.
I was gonna guess like some sort of big-bodied Cadillac.
Yeah.
Here comes Miss Voorhees.
Yeah, that's what I could see Betsy driving.
I love that.
Hey, what's the whereabouts of that Crystal Lake son in the movie? Is it still at the camp or something, or what?
Yeah, they've still got it at the camp.
Is it real faded and old looking, or does it still basically look the same?
It looks about the same. I took pictures with it.
Did they haven't touched? They haven't touched it at all, or what?
I don't know. I don't know if they have. They probably have.
I love how slow she's walking, Mrs. Voorhees. She's taking her time to get to that door.
She's nervous.
Yeah.
She's already killed about 8 people now.
Yeah,
she's
worn out.
tired now.
Yeah.
She better go get a 2-for-1 burger sale, get some energy money.
She needs to get some Insure or something.
Yeah. Insure Plus. Yeah. And of course, they're going to split up.
So, is Harry Manfredini still doing music for horror films?
He scored
He does.
Yeah,
the video game.
Yeah, he did the music for Friday the 13th Vengeance, the fan film too. I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Did
really?
he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
know that.
wow.
Did he go back to some of these original cues, like the?
As far as I recall, but I think he goes back to those cues with every score he's ever done.
Yeah, I
And,
know. Hills Have Eyes Part 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he told me there was a signing at Dark Delicacies here for the Part 6 vinyl sound months ago, and they're thinking about doing a live thing here in LA of Friday the 13th and with a live orchestra.
Nice.
What?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Oh, I'll
So
go
just
see
kind of
this.
work that out. That would
That'd
be
be crazy. as
Yeah,
hell.
that'd be cool.
That would be awesome to see.
I wish he would have did Part 8.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do Part 7. It's all old music, so.
I kind of
Six-
like Fred Mullen though. I didn't
Yeah.
think he was too bad. I liked his music.
The music is like definitely, it's sort of like the other character in the movie though, because as much as I like the reboot, the music in that reboot could have been in any sort of, horror movie of the 2000s. That
Yeah.
moody sort of,
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
I
thing is, I don't think you can go back to the original score for that film. I really don't. I think as much as we like the Friday 13th, the Manfredini score, it's kind of its time, and I think it's kind of outlived its usefulness for new movies. I like the score for the remake. It's not used enough, but I
there's
like
hardly
it.
any music in it, really.
There's more than you'd think. It's just not utilized as obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah, Steve Jablonsky's more into like sound design and atmosphere than
Yeah.
really.
Like noises and stuff. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Like Texas Chainsaw scores like that a bit.
Yeah. Do you guys think that? I mean, do you think, Lauren, that would be too overwrought for like too cheesy now?
It's not a
Use-
matter of cheesy. It's just a matter of there's a way films are made, there's a way films are paced, there's a way films are edited today. Music is written for the edit. And
Okay.
what is in this film works because the beats all match up, the tone lines up. Taking this score and putting it in something made modernly isn't going to work unless you have someone who wants to make a film that's entirely in the fashion, in the retro fashion, which I don't think they should do because I think it's a recipe for disaster for everyone but the hardcore fans. I think you have to have a new score. What I would say is, though, they should get bold and just put something out there that feels completely modern. Hire some industrial rock artists to go out there and really develop something with nods to the score, but something that would work with today's sensibilities of film. Oh, stop it. Stop it.
The only element of the score that I really wanted, which the reboot only used like one time, was the iconic, like that. Like, what is it? Like, do they have to pay by usage of it or something? Because they used it like once.
They have to pay by use. Exactly it. Yep. I think it's the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they used it over the Paramount logo, didn't they?
Yeah. And they
I
added
think
the
they
prologue.
used it when the title came up, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like once he killed
Yes,
the
they
group
did.
at the beginning, like, and it said Friday the 13th. I think that's when they did it.
Yeah.
I bet
I think at the very
Manfredini
end,
loves that.
fades out. It might be. Yeah, I think I'll have to count the numbers. Yeah.
So this is the incredibly important tea kettle.
But
It is. No, it is.
Yeah, it's kind of because it's like she's getting nervous. She knows something's wrong, and I mean now, they wouldn't pace things this way probably, but
No,
because this is scary when she goes to the pantry. You're like waiting for something. Like it's the anticipation. I
right,
don't know
because
if
we
audience-
established Crazy
yeah.
Ralph coming out of there, so you don't know. There's all this tension in the air, and yet this most sedate, normal activity is going
Yeah.
on. It's kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
And
But
of course, part two opens with her murder when the tea kettle gets slammed down on the counter,
right.
kind of completing this scene in the second film.
Yeah, I never thought of that. It's true. But that's the scary thing. Like when you're home alone, it's dark, and you have to walk out in the backyard to go get something. It's that same feeling of, I don't know, vulnerability or something.
And a weird thing too. Look at the pulled focus on this scene in this cabin. She's in such great focus, but look at the background. It's intentionally the focus is pulled in such a way that we're focused on her, and everything else is allowed to get a little darker than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Again, that sense of claustrophobia is built into the film. It's a really well-made film.
I think this is brilliantly lit.
It is.
Well, talk about
And
Harry
it
Man
starred
score. I
Debbie
love
Sue Voorhees.
Yeah. Debbie, she's so sweet, such a nice person. But I love the scene in part 5 when Pam is driving her pickup truck, and all you hear is the music going for like 10 minutes to drive. Like nothing's happening, but you got that Harry Manfredini music to do something.
It's like the same shot like 5 times in a row. Are those different shots, or do they just play it 5 times?
I am
there's a
impressed
little
that Mrs. Voorhees got him up on the door with arrows.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do.
Dude, she's a
But then even
badass.
Halloween,
Peter.
you watch that, it's ridiculous when he stabs him against the wall. There's no way that knife would hold up a body. It just it's all ridiculous if you break it down. But all movies are, if you pull them apart, you're going to find silly things.
How old is Mrs. Voorhees in this film? Is she like 68?
50s, 60?
Oh, I'm kidding.
Yeah. In real life, I think she was 50s or something.
50. Okay, so she reasonably could have pulled it off, maybe.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
Oh,
that's
that's
wrong.
screwed.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's unprofessional.
It was in the newspaper, but yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Roger Ebert ran the. Well, I mean, it was a PO box, so it wasn't like sent anyone to a doorstep. But
It's so yeah.
it's kind of crazy though. Like in a movie about people getting killed, that someone would even think that's an appropriate thing to do. If they really worried about this film inspiring violence, think about that.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
And it had to just piss them off when everyone was just making boatloads of money. That's kind of like that's what's so cool about that. It's like the middle finger to Siskel and Ebert. They just keep racking in cash.
Yeah, it got them noticed too, though. So I think it was a love-hate thing.
Yeah, because they were local. I grew up in Chicago when there was sneak previews, and they were national. Ebert wasn't widely known. That helped put them on the map. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Last House on the Left, Ebert loved. So there you go.
And I saw a retro
They loved
review.
Henry.
Yeah, Henry.
Yeah.
And I saw a retro
Henry.
review. They recommended the Funhouse.
Yeah, Ebert's website loves the new Black Christmas remake. So
Oh,
that's
that's
not
that
right.
piece of
Get out of here,
Well,
Jay. Playing, Jay. You play,
certified
Jay.
fresh.
I do love that she like piles all the stuff against the door, and like the windows are wide open. She's standing right in front of the window.
I mean, her biggest
She's a
mistake
little.
here, she hasn't gotten
Yeah.
a pocket knife or
Yes.
a radio yet. So really, she's just
Or firecrackers. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. She's leaving herself open for trouble here.
She's a little flustered.
Need some
y'all.
hell spray.
Damn it! How did you have 3 pocket knives?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Totally.
That old school refrigerator.
Yeah.
Man, my grandparents had one like that in their house.
Oh, she was so sweet. I told you the cookie story, right, Piz? I still have that letter. Oh no! So after I did the interview, she was in New York and super sweet and so kind. And like a week and a half later, I get this box in the mail. Open it up. There's this handwritten letter from Betsy Palmer with stars on it. I had it framed, and came with a box of cookies. She said, "Thank you for the interview. How lovely it was." And she sent me cookies. I'm like, Mrs. Voorhees sent me cookies. It was like it was an amazing moment. Yeah, they're good cookies too. So yeah. So. Yeah. I was hoping they. Yeah.
I'm still bummed that she couldn't have been in Freddy vs. Jason, or she decided not to be. She didn't like it or something.
Yeah, she's. Yeah, I get it. She wanted a better. Oh, I guess. And here's where she loses her jacket by accident, and she had to spend the rest of the movie without a jacket.
Yeah, but it's awesome because you can't fake that shit.
Yeah.
This is the type of chick that you want to go for. You want to go for the nerd chick like this. You don't want to go for the hot chick. You want to go for a nerd.
It is interesting that Mrs. Voorhees decides that she's going to reveal herself, because she could have just killed Alice, and that'd be it. But she decides to, give her speech.
It's very creepy too.
Yeah. But they say that, not to overanalyze it, but most serial killers, like, they leave clues on purpose. Like, they want people to know. So it kind of makes sense.
Right.
I watch Mindhunters, Peter. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Cold case files.
I remember
And you guys know that
BTK.
was that was Tom Savini dressed as Laurie Bartram through the window. You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and the nightgown. You can see it. Just the shot through the window, and then it's her up on the ground. But
This is my favorite two-shot in film history, by the way.
yeah,
These two women face to face, because there's so much impact of what it means into the story.
yeah.
It's great, and this framing and this blocking is awesome.
Yeah, because the way he blocked it low for her and then high for her.
It's underrated. Again, this film just wow.
And one is high and one is calm.
Yep.
And they got them in the stream. They got them in the same shot. Beautiful.
As a testament to how young I was when I first saw this, I legitimately thought, first viewing, I was like, oh man, like like Alice has help, like someone came to help her. Like I had no idea, like what
me too.
that this was the killer. And so like I can remember feeling like, wait a second, what is she talking about?
In a way, and I know this is a good popular opinion, I get it. In a way, I wish there wasn't the flashes of Jason in this sequence. I almost like just the work that Betsy Palmer is doing here.
Yeah.
More so than the image. I don't know. I almost feel like it's a little distracting to get these bright, colorful special effects, heavy like inserts.
And was that something done after the Jason scene was added at the end, you think? Or was that already in the script and all that, the flashes of Jason? Because it's got me wondering now.
That's a good question. I don't know. I have to go back to the transcript, and I wonder if we asked the editor that. We did interview the editor.
Oh, come on, Peter. You got to know this stuff. Man.
I want to say we brought it. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. I want to say we definitely talked about the flashes of white. That came from a movie called The Pawnbroker that he saw that did the flashes to white. That's where that came from.
Right.
But I don't know if this was added later or they meant that the whole time. Well, I assume they were shot at the same time that they shot the ending with Come Out Late.
Betsy talks about Tom Savini showing her drawings of what would be Jason. So it had to have been in planning stages at least. Betsy was only there a week, right?
Yeah, 10 days. She got 1,000 hours a day, 10,000. That's what they did.
So it couldn't have been that different. It definitely wasn't the reshoots of Jason emerging from the lakes.
But then, I don't know at what point they added the ending, because I know they were discussing the ending during shooting, so they could have conceived the ending. Because I can't imagine they would make that makeup twice. I would assume they couldn't. They would have made the makeup and did. I don't know. I'll have to go back, and that's a good question to find out.
Go get him.
Well. Yeah, totally professional. Really nice. They said she was. Well, the other shot that everyone talks about is, there's that shot of her against the plastic wrap, which was just out. That's not in the movie.
This also does that thing that like Halloween did and a lot of other horror movies did, where it's like you have all these unknown actors, all these young actors, and then you bring in like a veteran that sort of like adds a weight and a gravity to the story. Donald Pleasance in Halloween, John Saxon in Nightmare on Elm Street, Leslie Nielsen in Prom Night. There's more examples of this.
Absolutely, yeah. Donald Pleasance was probably the big one. It's interesting though. So I guess she had Annie's body in her truck the whole time. She was just driving around with, of course.
With her in the back seat.
Plan on making some sausage or something.
Yeah. Well, I'll have and she'll have the
carpool lanes.
Yeah. Well, she just hear voices, so
Can you imagine her just like having a conversation with her while she's just like
just
Kill her, mommy.
This thing she did in the movie, she told me that She had to put ice in her mouth and did these inserts. That was the last stuff she shot, was the close-ups of the mouth, doing the voice.
So, does that? A few of us grew up watching this film mostly on television and on VHS. These scenes were very hard to make out in those in that form because they were so dark, and they were of course pan and scan, and there wasn't much scanning involved. It was mostly just center frame. When the DVD transfer came out, that was originally unintentionally the uncut version. It was a revelation to me how much is involved in this sequence, because before that I just almost thought of it as like this dreamy kind of almost the opposite of a silent film. You were listening to the movie rather than seeing it. It's a different experience.
Like the stuff when Lori Bartram, when Lori Bartram goes out to the archery range, you couldn't see a thing on the video. Like it was really just black for 30 seconds, and the sound effects. This is creepy.
One thing I've always had a problem with some fans is talking about Betsy Palmer being an old woman and that she wasn't capable of doing anything in the film. That is ridiculous. She could do absolutely everything in this film easily. She's not decrepit old woman at all.
And she has, it's like,
oh my God, here it goes.
Or how about Laurie Metcalf in Scream 2, you know?
Hey, you
And
know,
Jackie?
It's like you have to. It's like you have to put yourself in the character's perspective. Like she's in a rage. Like she's got like. I mean, think about those stories about like the parent that'll like lift the car off their child. Like this is almost some sort of twisted version of like she is like focused on her task of like doing these terrible things.
Guys, Ed Gein was 10 years older than Betsy Palmer was in making this film. There's no question she could do everything in this film.
I mean, fucking Michael Myers in the new Halloween was 60 years old or whatever he was.
63.
You guys, I've seen.
I don't believe she was picking off a bunch of 40-year-old teenagers.
I've seen older women like that go off in department stores, especially around this time of year. I mean,
I love
to do it.
This is my favorite probably shot in the movie when Betsy comes one side. Just the lighting in the back is really cool behind I don't know if you guys are in the same part when Adrian comes out of the
tree.
This whole lighting is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind too, she's setting upon most of the counselors like by surprise. Again, like Kevin Bacon, who pretty muscled, strong guy. Like he can't do anything. Like she kills him like immediately, and she surprises everybody else. Alice, the one person she actually confronts, gives her a good fight because I mean, again, it's like I feel like the movie is not really that outlandish. I mean, it's a movie. I get it, but it's plausible.
Yeah.
I love how dreamy we just start to get right here with the shots of the moon, and we start to have like limited uses of light. We're definitely like this is a psychological war as much as it is a physical one.
When you were talking earlier too about the first two movies feeling more East Coast, also like in the second one, Steve Miner did again the thing with the moon. You remember like there's a lot of after part two they kind of dropped all that. Like 3 definitely not even. I mean, it's 3D. It just looks different. It's shot differently, a bit different. That's it. All I gotta say is just watch Soul Man. I mean, if you want to see it, that's
so good.
Yeah.
I forgot he directed that movie.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh my God, I used to love Soul Man when I was a kid.
I need to see. I've only saw it once.
I need some of those pills, man.
That shit was on HBO like constant back in the day.
So we are talking about a movie, not the Dan Aykroyd starring sitcom from ABC in the late 90s, early 2000s. Right?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Was that a show, Eric?
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd was a priest.
What?
He crossed over with Home Improvement.
I don't remember that.
I gotta
look it up. IMDb, my friends. Check it out. Soul Man.
This is cool lighting too, with the light through the slats, the pantry.
Yeah.
Very
That's a big
Halloween. Yeah. Big pop.
This is scary.
This is very similar to even Black Christmas with the eye. The original Black Christmas when you look through, you see the eye. I mean, this is a pretty common thing of like the person coming through the door or whatever, big slasher moment.
But of course, there wasn't anything to borrow from at this point.
Yeah.
Because stylistically, this film borrows very little from Halloween, despite
Yeah.
Sean saying that he called Victor to say, "Let's rip it off." Stylistically, it is closer to Black Christmas,
Yeah,
but even that is so much different because that's a college town. It doesn't feel rural. There's so much that they were inventing out of whole cloth for this film.
Did this film have any kills taken from like Mario Bava films, or was that later on?
No, that was part two.
Part two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hallmark, distributed Bay of Blood, and they
and Phil
the money.
Scuderi did. Yeah, Phil Scuderi worked with Ron Kurtz on the screenplay for part two, so that definitely is plausible. Yeah. And I believe Sean Cunningham when he said he had no real knowledge of, Italian movies.
I don't believe anything Sean Cunningham says.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't that well versed, and he wasn't.
No, I was kidding. I like Sean. I don't care nobody says. Sean's an OG, man. I like Sean.
We meant that as an homage to that film, not we're not ripping it off.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, it's a homage to Halloween.
Yeah, Sean's.
But to be fair, I mean, Halloween lifted a lot from other movies too. It wasn't,
a little bit from Psycho, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is a random question, Peter, but I want to ask this. So the initial first thing that came out was Sean with the title Friday the 13th, right? Like that was the first of this. But Victor's screenplay, wasn't it called something at Camp Blood, like Long Night at Camp? Why did he have a name?
Long Night at Camp Blood.
Well, Peter, why did he have was this like just the proud writer and Victor was like, I'm gonna have a title for my screenplay? Because why even have a title if Sean already knew it was gonna be called Friday the 13th?
So yeah, it's a little. So the timeline seems to be that Sean says, "How Halloween? Let's go rip it off." They sat around the kitchen table, came up with ideas. Summer camp, perfect. Victor was writing it, came up with Long Night Camp Blood, and then Sean was thinking of a title and pulled up his Rolodex. But yeah, it doesn't quite match with Sean saying that, I had this title, and I put the ad in before we even wrote the movie.
Right,
so
right.
It doesn't quite... But people's memories, as you know, don't always... But yeah, that's...
I know they're getting old, so I can imagine they can't remember.
Yeah.
I always thought that was just slightly odd.
But you know what I should do? But I have the original ad. We can look up the date of the ad and then look at the first draft screenplay and compare the dates. Because if the ad came out before the screenplay or if the ad came out after, then we would know, I guess, what came first, the chicken or the egg. Yeah.
Well, I guess, maybe in a year or so when this lawsuit's over, we'll get another copy of the original movie and it'll be called Long Night at Camp Blood instead of Friday the 13th. Hey, I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. You can see the toothpicks after the head gets chopped off. Yeah, they literally put the head on
that slow motion. I miss that slow motion. They should have used that in the reboot.
That's actually my least favorite thing about the reboot, as problematic as it is. I hate the recreation of the Mrs. Voorhees scene. I think it looks cheap. It's awful.
That was actually added on. That was not originally. They did a test screening and they added it after. So that's why it's so quick. Yeah,
the decision to desaturate that whole look of it, so it's colorless and bland looking. It has no emotional stakes. It's just awful. It's the worst thing in the film by far. And there's things to criticize in that film, but that is the worst.
It feels like you watch. Yeah.
Nana Visitor as Mrs. Voorhees, though, to me, I almost wish we could have gotten a movie where she had more to do. I'm a big Deep Space Nine fan. She's a great actress. I thought she could have played a hell of a Mrs. Voorhees with more than, like 2 scenes or whatever she got there.
I love the score.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It still works. Yeah. And you guys know the story about the song, right? Earlier in the movie, Sail Whale, Tiny Sparrow. Yeah. Yeah. But still,
masterful sequence.
It still works. No matter who sees this for the first time, they always jump out of it. Yeah.
When I was in college, there was a bunch of friends of mine who had never seen any of these things. Like maybe they'd seen like Halloween 1 or something, but they never saw that whole series. But they never saw Friday the 13th, and they definitely never saw the first one. And I remember I showed them this movie, and when Jason jumps out of the water and grabs the girl, like, and again, this is college, we were like 18, 19 years old. A couple of my buddies like jumped in their seats, and I was so proud of that moment that I was able to get them.
So So when Alice touches the water the second time, that's signaling for Ari to come out.
So I've seen this so many times it doesn't scare me, but one time I was watching it in the afternoon and I started falling asleep and I was drifting and just hearing the music and it popped up and it scared the shit out of me. And it was like I've seen it a hundred times and it finally scared me again.
There he is.
Cue the guitar.
Oh yes.
And Peter, Ari was not the first kid that was supposed to do this, right? Wasn't it Sean?
No.
Did Sean have a kid or something?
Yeah, no, Cunningham was going to do it, and then Sean's mother said, Noel's mother said, no way, that kid's not. She was worried that him going underwater and that kind of thing.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Cunningham. You should have let baby Noel get in that water now.
So wait. So Susan Cunningham, R.I.P.
I love the nurse here looks right at the camera if you watch. She'll look right in the camera really quickly.
That's all right.
Bam.
Oh, come on, baby. You can't break the third wall.
Yes. But now it ruins it for me because when I'm watching, I'm always looking at her eyes. But the boy. See that too?
Did Adrian get a haircut? Like, did they shoot this later because her hair looks shorter?
Yeah, it was shot later. I think this is the very last because this was not shot by the. This was shot the last thing that Adrian did because they did for the whole movie because the DP couldn't do it, so it was actually Peter Stein, the assistant DP, did it, who shot part 2. So this is the one scene not lit by Barry Abrams. I remember that. I think that's in the book actually. It's in the part 2 chapter.
I like this cop. What's this guy's name? I like him.
Yeah, Ron Carroll. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah, he's still alive.
He was in House too, wasn't he? Wasn't he in House?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a Sean movie, right? So I guess Sean liked that guy.
Steve Miner directed that. Yeah. So I want to say he was in. I think he was in Manny's Orphans, the kids movie before this. I think as well. If I'm not mistaken.
I love those.
I love this too. So yeah.
Right on the face, fading. Oh, beautiful.
And I actually well, I don't know if I prefer it, but I kind of like this ending. I love Halloween, but like him disappearing in the music, I kind of like this better. That kind of he's still out. I don't know. It's a little quieter and creepier. Same kind of feel, that he's still out there. But I don't know.
Well, I think here it's like you kind of ask yourself, like, did you just see that? Like, was it a dream or did it really happen? It plays with your mind a little bit, which is a little scarier.
And look at the water moving a little bit.
Yeah. It represents the trauma. She's traumatized by this. She's never going to forget it. Her life will never be the same.
And the entire film we've watched is like from her perspective, her memory of these horrible events. They did happen, but they're not. They are colored by her perspective, which is why she's an artist. That's important. The second film, we see it from the point of view of a child psychologist student, and that's why we have a child, the child trapped in a man's body, and that's why it has a much more hard, real feel to it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, there was thought to these movies. There really was.
Yeah. And some of these people went on to do other things. I know, like, Martin Kutrasser. Martin Kutrasser wrote the third one, and he's Quentin Tarantino's script supervisor. Jay Cooper, the assistant editor, does a lot of movies now.
It says Susan was an associate editor on this.
Yes, and she edited part 2 as well. Richard Fury went on to do stuff. Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Lee Dichter is a big sound recordist now. He does a lot of movies. Peter Stein shot part 2. He also shot Pet Sematary and a bunch of other movies. So he went on to be a big DP. Yes, so Willie Adams was a production assistant. That's why he's in the beginning of the movie. He's not an actor. He just threw him in there. Like, we need someone to play this kid.
Wow. He had a good part. Got to draw.
Yeah. He's the first person to ever. He's the first person to ever die in a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. Dry humping.
So I just want to point out like how brief the credit sequence of this movie is. You sit down to watch a Marvel film and it's practically a film by itself. This end credits. And people actually sit down to watch that for like half a second of new footage. But this whole film was made by enough people that you could fit them in a room.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's a better film.
Yeah,
for
Adrian King was saying, like sometimes there'd be like 5 people on set, which is so rare. You just don't have that, 5, 6 people. Usually there's 50, Ah, the old Paramount. Yeah.
That was amazing.
I think that was my favorite one. Yeah, that was good.
It was good. They should make more of them, I think.
Did that old school Paramount Live.
It's a shame they didn't do any sequels to that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
That was fun.
It was. It was nice. Yeah.
I'm glad we finally did the original. Some of that OG Kush for you.
the
We'll have
best.
to do part 2 because these are the early ones are fun.
Mm-hmm. I kind of got a little more appreciation out of this film as I got older. As I remember when Miss Voorhees gets her head cut off at the end, I watched it with my cousin, and we had seen many of the sequels before, and we both laughed out loud when it happened just because it looked so cheesy. She's like grabbing her head. I appreciate it much more as I've gotten older.
Sorry guys, my mic was muted, but yes, I was just saying there's the that concludes our Friday the 13th live commentary on Friday the 13th. If you guys have any questions for Peter or any of us, please post those in the chat. But let me give some shout outs to everybody who's still with us. Steak Sauce, Malek, Big Ideas 3, Borderline 11, Movie Man 95, Joe Bob Tarhill, Jerry L. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and Jess Graham, Max Punishment, old buddy Max is still here, out from Russia.
Oh
Wow.
But let's keep going. Let's do part 2 now. No, I don't know if we can handle part 2 now, Max. You'll have to wait.
We're doing a burial ground commentary coming up right now.
When's the next Friday 13th? Is it next year? Is there one? I don't even know.
There's 2 next year.
Yeah, there's 2 next year, I do believe. That was the first thing when I got my new calendar. I was like, okay, where's the Friday the 13th?
Well, I think at Christmas we should do a Black Christmas new remake live commentary.
I agree.
Oh God,
I absolutely agree. I agree.
March and November next year.
Oh wow.
really?
Well, let's do some closing thoughts here. Gibbs, I know Gibbs. I mean, you were so caught up in the film, and all of us speaking. You were just. At one point, I think I saw you shed.
You guys were.
I think I saw you shed some tears at one point. You were just so.
Absolutely. It's. I mean, just as a religious experience for me to hear these experts talk. But I was soaking it all in. And I got that, brought a lot to the table, and I just was enjoying it.
Very cool.
No, I mean this, like I said, go ahead.
I just said very cool. But all right, closing thoughts. Christian Hanna, closing thoughts. Friday the 13th, the original.
Piz, it's really interesting because when I first started getting into these movies around 2008 and 9, I found myself really loving the latter sequels. But as I've gotten older, and it seems like it's a hard thing for people to ever just want to be able to change their minds on stuff. But I've never had that problem. I really love this movie. I really do. I love these older entries, and I'm really starting to love this era of movies even more. These late 70s, early 80s more as opposed to the late 80s, because everything seems really authentic and still they're going for it, so to speak, and I'm noticing that more. And I just had a blast. I really love this movie now, and I love Betsy Palmer. So this would probably be in my top 3 of the entire franchise now, unequivocally.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. We've got a question from Joe Bob Tarhill. Joe Bob Tarhill is wondering, are there any funny stories involving Corey Feldman from the making of Part 4? Did you hear anybody tell you any funny Corey Feldman stories while you were interviewing people for Part 4?
Yeah, it was. Definitely Ted White did not like Corey Feldman. He called him a little shit.
Hell yeah! I love me some Ted White.
And
That's
he
my
said
boy.
He said his favorite part was when he got to jump through the window because he got to scare the shit out of Corey Feldman when he grabs him through the window. It's like, that little shit. I wanted to scare the shit crap out of him. So he was all like, loving that. So, yeah. I mean, Corey and Flory was still a cute little kid. So everyone said they were very protective because, he didn't have a good childhood. His parents were not great people. Like Kimberly Beck said the first weekend, she took Corey to Chuck E. Cheese because his mom was like kind of an awful stage mother. And so everyone was very protective. So I think on that movie, he was cute and still, he was like Gremlins Corey Feldman. He didn't become angelic to the core Corey Feldman or Corey's Angels yet, that
Right.
shit. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was pre his Michael Jackson phase. Oh my God.
Dream a little dream.
Oh.
Oh God.
He's still in his Michael Jackson phase. I think.
He still is. He still is.
Oh God.
Eric, closing thoughts on Friday the 13th.
I guess I never really thought about it, but what Jay is saying, what Christian's saying about how they've kind of come to have a new appreciation for the movie, that resonates with me. I think it's true for me too. And it's funny because how Lauren was talking about how you always watched it on TV for the longest time. You got to experience the film almost brand new when the new DVDs came out, and even just when new TVs came out. Like when I was a kid, like I did have my own TV, but it was one of those box, I forget the ratio, but it was the cutoff square screen, and so I had pan scan VHSs. Once I got DVD players and widescreen TVs and things, I got to kind of enjoy this movie and see so much more of it and enjoy it a little bit more. And I really enjoy. Actually, just commentary was great for me. Just I liked hearing Lauren's kind of perspectives on the filmmaking aspect of it and some of the visualizations. Obviously, Peter, stuff you always bring is great. So, as a kid, I think I was impatient with this movie. In fact, I would even say, like, if I would start a series like rewatch, I probably would start with part 2. Like, I kind of just wanted to get to it, Whereas I know, like, I always start with 1 now. Like, I appreciate going through the whole thing, and I like what it does.
Very cool. Very cool. Stingray, closing thoughts. Friday the 13th.
Yeah, just piggybacking off what some of the other guys said, what Peter and Lauren were saying earlier. It's in contrast to some of that stuff in the later '80s, which I do love, but just in a different, a kind of a different appreciation for some of that, the craziness and the crazy kills and the gore and all that stuff. This is just a really well-made movie, and really, coming to love it more and more every time I see it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What about you, Lauren? Closing thoughts on Friday the 13th.
Well, it's my 5th favorite film ever. I've loved this film since I was 9 years old, and it doesn't get weaker with every viewing. It gets stronger. It's a movie I can put on at any point and watch, and I can't say that of everything in this franchise, but I can say that about this, that we wouldn't have any other films in the franchise if this wasn't such a good film. I wish its legacy would be more along the lines of being the groundbreaking film that it really is, and not just, hey, it brought a lot of gore to cinema. But I'll settle for them remembering it at all. I'm a broken record. I don't necessarily want any more sequels because I think it's time for new things. But I'm really glad about the legacy that Friday the 13th has had. But Pez, more importantly, I think that at this time of the year, the holiday season, is important that we put really our troubles behind us. So I'd like to extend an olive branch to you.
Oh, wow.
Well,
I am sorry genuinely for if I have at all offended your sensibilities. And although I won't say I didn't intend to at points, it was a mistake. And I know you're a big enough man to come to the middle with me. So what do you say? In the spirit of the holiday, and by that I mean Friday the 13th, not this Christmas thing.
Well, I was just going to throw something out there that not a lot of people know about you, that I discovered about you when I met you. This is your 5th favorite movie of all time.
It's true.
Your number 2 favorite movie of all time is License to Drive.
That's not true.
So
A close second.
So Is that an olive branch? Did I
That
think
was
the fauna
that was me taking the olive branch and breaking it into a million pieces.
Wow.
I have no idea what the backstory of this whole thing is, so I'm.
He spoke ill of my Friday the 13th Part 5.
Okay, listen. This is a Kentucky versus Jersey thing. That's what this is at heart. He's racist towards this part of the country, and that's all there is. I thought we were going to make friends here. I tried. Everyone in the chat can see very clearly. I was on the right here. I tried to be the bigger man, which is ironic because I'm about half his size. But it doesn't really matter. If he wants to continue the feud, so be it. It's not like I'm defenseless.
Fair. Okay, that sounds like you're challenging me to a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Come on up again.
Wow. Actually, I want to see you guys dressed as Pam and as Roy and fight each other.
That's funny. That's funny. But okay, in the spirit of the season, Lauren, I have forgiven you. Okay.
And I forgive you, man. I love you.
Well, okay. I've not made any mistakes. So you don't need to forgive me.
I think you guys should shake hands and go enjoy an enchilada somewhere.
Oh, I could go for an enchilada.
Really break bread.
Damn enchiladas.
Eric, that seems like you were vaguely kind of shifting the weight on the scale to one side.
But
I think an enchilada is a delicious meal.
It is.
I'm not sure what you're referencing.
Oh, wait. Joe Bob Tarhill asks me, what's worse, Aliens or License to Drive? That is very, very, very easy.
Don't you fucking say Aliens. I'm going to leave right now.
Very easy. If you're not saying which is a disappointing film, License to Drive is a worse film. If you're asking me which is more disappointing, yeah, Alien is a masterpiece, and Aliens is...
Oh.
We're going to post your home address here live on the Sausage Factory.
Well, let's
live right now.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Monty, closing thoughts. Friday the 13th.
Oh man, I love the entire Paramount series. Those are the real Friday the 13th to me. They're all in one lump because I started at number 4. I love this movie just as much as I love 1 through 6. You know, so I mean, it always has a special place for me because I used to always see it at the video store. It always inspired me to want to make films my entire life. So I've always loved this film.
Okay. Gibbs, closing thoughts. Friday the 13th.
Well, I mean, I'm a broken record with the rest of these guys as far as this movie was never my favorite, but I watched it a couple of days ago, and I mean, I bumped it up 2 or 3 notches. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it's just a great movie. You know, I'm not the biggest horror fan in the world, but this is just a great movie, and I had a blast with it. I'm very, very happy I got to see it, and I'm glad I got to spend this time, hearing you guys opine on it so eloquently.
Yeah, right on, man. Right on. Glad to have you. The original Friday the 13th is so strange because I think it's the only big series where unanimously, everyone would say the first is not their favorite movie. The first movie is not the best movie or their favorite movie. Well, I'm excluding you, Lauren, excluding you. But I think people overlook the fact that, of just how well made this film is. Again, as we mentioned during the commentary, how well written it is. The characters are all good. The dialogue is good. For some reason, that gets overlooked by the fact that Jason is not in it. Just like another great film in this series that gets overlooked because Jason is not in it.
I saw that coming a mile away.
But I do think this is a really well-made film on virtually every level. And that gets overlooked. This is certainly a better film than many of the other sequels. So I don't know. I love the film. I loved the film before I had the opportunity to visit the camp. Of course, visiting the camp and seeing those locations in person just is, mind-blowing experience. So I mean that made me love the film even more. So. But yeah, I mean, I love the original Friday the 13th. I think of all the Friday the 13th films, it would be right up there with some of the ones that I've seen the most, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it was on TV all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter, closing thoughts, Friday the 13th.
It's hard to, it's hard to give closing thoughts on the first movie. I mean, I'm a little bit different than I remember it when it came out, and how just influential and what an impression it made, and just how new and fresh and inventive it seemed. Like now, I think people coming to it, they've seen so many movies like it. But it's fascinating me about the first movie. It's like truly an origin story. Like it's truly like it's now it would be the prequel movie that they would do later, like before Jason. They would do it it would be like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. They would afterward they go back and do the prequel. But this actually came first, and it actually launched a whole series. Like when does that happen? When now I feel like we're in the era of like origin stories where they just remake the Hulk every few years. Every few years it's a new Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But this actually was an origin story that spawned like 13 fucking movies. It's crazy. It's not in a hurry. It takes its time. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like I think with Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, like those series, everyone considers the first movie the best. And Friday the 13th is the only series where there really isn't. Everyone has their favorites, but there really isn't truly a best Friday the 13th. Like there's not a consensus that one Friday the 13th is the best one, which is really weird. It's really weird. It's really interesting. But like it was the template for all that followed, but yet it's not quite like the others because Jason's not in it. So it's really, but I love it. Actually, it's probably in my top. I mean 1, 2, and 3. I mean it's up there. I think in different like one day of the week, Friday is my favorite. Another day of the week, part 2 is my favorite. So like, I love it. I have such like passion, nostalgia for it. Like it just makes me feel good that it's in the universe. That sounds silly. I don't know. It's just cool. It's out there.
Well, and you mentioned how influential it was. I mean, we can't really understate just how influential the film was on horror of the 80s. I mean, everybody says, Halloween, but it was Friday the 13th. It was so influential on the way that, studios, every studio wanted their own Friday the 13th.
Well, I'm going to say something controversial because a lot of people don't. There's a little bit of revisionist history going on with Halloween. When that movie came out, it was released regionally, so it didn't open wide. So it took a year, like it would go from town to town. So you heard about it, and it made money, but it was not a $100 million blockbuster. Even Jamie Lee Curtis said earlier on in like one of the commentaries, like it was a small movie that made its mark, and you heard of Halloween, but it wasn't a instant classic at all. It was like a good movie and a scary movie, and then nothing really happened. People forget until Friday the 13th 2 years later. There wasn't really any slasher movies. It was Friday the 13th that then like caused like the avalanche. You know what I mean? Like without Friday the 13th, Halloween would just have been kind of a blip. But after Friday the 13th, that's when all the slasher movies started, because that's Friday the 13th figured out. I think it kind of not perfected, but it took the pieces of Halloween that were good and made a formula out of it. So if you didn't have Friday the 13th, you wouldn't have had the slash. I don't think if Halloween had been by itself, we would have had all those slasher movies. That's just my opinion.
If there hadn't been Friday the 13th, there probably wouldn't have been Halloween 2. There wouldn't have been
My Bloody Valentine. There wouldn't have been Prom Night. All that came because Friday the 13th was like, oh yeah, this is a form. Because people didn't realize what was like. You watched like what's that movie? It's called Silent Scream. Have you ever seen that? It came out like there was a couple of movies after Halloween that didn't get the formula right. They took pieces of it, and Friday the 13th got it. Like Friday the 13th figured out these are the pieces of Halloween that like the all the iconic things became iconic because you had Friday the 13th, replicating them, if that makes sense. So like Friday the 13th started the trend. Like, one movie is like a blip, but 2 is a start of a trend. So anyway, that's my thought about it.
Well, and we wouldn't have had Black Christmas 2019
No.
to subvert all of that. So without, I mean, it's again, we really have to give credit where credit's due, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw, and Halloween, there wasn't a flood of imitators after those movies. It was after Friday the 13th that you had this deluge. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
How do you guys think we would view this film if there was no sequels?
I was just thinking about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Peter talks about, because Peter and I are a little bit older than a lot of people here. I remember when there weren't a lot of sequels. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And it was a powerhouse film. it was an infamous film in some quarters, but it was
Yeah.
we would still have it on the film landscape. I think that is for sure true.
Yeah. It was so transparent because it was the first time that the grindhouse sensibility actually went to the multiplex, because people forget Texas Chainsaw, even Halloween, Dawn of the Dead, those movies didn't play wide. Like Last House, those were like drive-in. You heard about them, but Friday the 13th was the first one that was opened wide, and it was playing in. Like I remember when I saw Friday the 13th, next door was Fame and some other movies. It was really, you know what I mean? Like you didn't see movies like Friday the 13th with arrows coming through people's throats.
Yeah.
When you were at the mall, like, you know what I mean? That was something you saw at Grindhouse, you know, in New York or something. So it felt that's I think part with Siskel and Ebert. It felt like this dirty thing was crossing over and it was dangerous because you were bringing this dark, evil sensibility that should stay in the gutter, you know. So it was kind of cool.
I did want to ask about that though, because we were talking about that earlier, and I was trying to think like there are examples of extreme violence in other movies, other celebrated movies. And it's the thing I think that I'm thinking of specifically is one of the seminal scenes in The Godfather when Michael shoots the dirty cop in the head. Like that's a pretty graphic scene. Like he shoots him right in the head. You see like the blood go down, and you see the guy like the blood goes into his face, and he like contorts. That's a pretty graphic, violent scene. That movie is that's The Godfather. I mean, that's like Hollywood royalty. And I guess again, I'm not comparing Godfather and Friday the 13th, but I am saying that this idea that like this extreme violence, like Siskel and Ebert have this extreme reaction, them and other reviewers have this extreme reaction to it, but in other scenarios it seems to be okay. And I guess I just can't quite understand the difference they're seeing there.
So the thing, like those were still like those movies had violence, like Taxi Driver and stuff, but you were supposed to be horrified. Friday the 13th was marketed as literally the trailer was you're going to see 13 creative murders. You're going to have fun watching people get murdered in weird ways and enjoy that. That's I think what like Godfather, you're supposed to be more. They're the bad guys. But Friday the 13th, you're getting kicked out of watching people get murdered.
Godfather, the violence and the gore is used as plot points and not as kind of show-stopping moments. Whereas they weren't necessarily viewed as marketing it as spectacle.
Yeah. This is like that teenage movie. Let's watch kids, scandalous kids get killed in weird ways. And as a kid, I enjoyed it because I realized it's not real, but adults took it really seriously.
Yeah.
The film that this is actually most like is actually Scanners. Because when Scanners came out, everyone talked about the exploding head.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that movie that no one then talked about, and certainly now, I mean, it's only talked about that way now because of Cronenberg, the rest of Cronenberg's work. So I feel it's kind of on that. There was something in the air that the more transgressive, violent cinema was coming to the mainstream, and this film just got all the hatred and all the animosity from the professional critic class. But it didn't get that from the fans. From day one, this was the playground conversation. This was the film that the college kids were talking about. This is what people were striving to in the genre. I mean, from day one, it had met its goals.
It's true. Jess Graham in the chat says, thanks, Peter Bracke, for Crystal Lake Memories and for doing these commentaries. Yes, if you guys have not read Peter's book, Crystal Lake Memories, by all means, go out and pick up a copy of Crystal Lake Memories. Definitely worth it. Go ahead, Christian.
That's a testament to how good that book is, Peter. I went to Barnes & Noble's last week. That son of a gun is still in every bookstore I see till this day, that Crystal Lake Memories. It's everywhere. I still have people say, "Oh, I just picked up Crystal Lake." I was like, "What do you haven't bought it yet? It's been out for a while, man." "Oh, I just got it." I'm like, "Wow!" So it's just a testament, man. It's incredible to see how many copies that book's probably sold. I mean, it's just amazing. And then I love the fact that they had it in the mini. I love the companion version that came with that Blu-ray set. I just think that was so cool.
Yeah. I didn't. Oh, Peter was frozen up. I didn't realize it.
No, my laptop ran out of battery.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry about that.
oh, that's okay. We were just shilling for your book, try and get some people to go out and pick up the book, and yeah.
I can't believe it's still in print all these years later.
Well, there's a
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I just went to a Barnes and Nobles last week, Peter. Still, I'm not surprised. Like every time I go there, it's still there. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not in great. It's like, who hasn't bought it? Who wants it? I'm just amazed that anyone. There's still sales. I'm like,
Well, Peter, you don't have to. Like, why are you working, Peter? Just stop. That's your home run. You don't have to do anything the rest of your life, man.
Well,
Take it easy.
To be fair, it's taken me 15 years to another book, so there you go. So
Yeah.
Because
It
I was
takes
just
a
waiting
while.
for something fun to do that I wanted to. Well, we got there. I don't know if I'm not supposed to say it, but we got close to doing a Halloween book, but there was reasons it fell through. But I'm glad to do this. It'd be fun to do something a different decade. But I always love Friday the 13th. It's like I can talk about it forever. Like you guys, like it's so ingrained in your head. Like you know what I mean. You don't even have to do any effort. Like I think we could sit there all day and talk about this and never get bored.
We could. We definitely could. Yeah.
This is the Star Wars of the horror genre. It
Yes.
really is.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel like, well, maybe it's different now with Halloween, but I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street kind of has disappeared a little bit. Texas Chainsaw's kind of directed video, and if I guess it wasn't for the new Halloween, it's weird that Friday the 13th kind of became the longest running and most famous in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you think of another franchise that goes dormant for a decade and still is just merchandise is everywhere? You can't walk into a Halloween store without being inundated with imagery from the films. I can't think of anything that has that kind of staying power. I really can't.
Yeah, and especially it's never had a big, it's not Avatar or Harry Potter. There's not a big thing about it. It's completely organic, completely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's weird.
All right, guys. Well, let's call it a night. I think we are. I don't think we have anything else scheduled until next year. Am I right, Stingray? I think we're done for the rest of the year.
He's very muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think you're right, Pidge.
Okay, so this is we're leaving out of 2019 on top with Friday the 13th live commentary on Friday the 13th with the great Peter Bracke. So a lot of fun. Huge shout out to everybody in the chat who hung out with us and watched the movie. We appreciate it, guys. Hope you guys out there all have a great holiday season. And a big thanks to everybody on the panel for hanging out and talking about the movie. And a huge thanks to Peter Bracke
Thank you guys.
for hanging out. Again, if you guys have not read Crystal Lake Memories, go read it.
It'll change your life.
It will.
Yes, there you go.
It makes a perfect holiday gift. Exactly. It's not going in a stocking. That's for sure.
Yes.
Remember, guys, bend at the knees. Bend at the knees.
Yeah.
All right, you guys out there have a great, safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. We'll see you in 2020. Peace.
All right.